October 31st, Saturday, 11:43 p.m. I'm sitting in front of the board right now, and I keep looking at the clock on the wall because something is wrong with the frequency on channel 7, and I can't figure out if it's the equipment or if what I'm actually hearing is real. Let me back up. My name is Owen Briggs. I'm 29 years old. I work the overnight shift at WKPR Community Radio, which is this tiny station on the corner of Aldrich Street and Route 9, sandwiched between a dry cleaner that's been closed for 8 months and a nail salon whose sign keeps blinking, even though they shut it off in August. I've worked the overnight shift here for 3 years. I took it originally because the hours suited me. I don't sleep well anyway, never have. And because the day manager, a guy named Gerald, who everybody called Geary, told me the overnight shift was quiet. He wasn't wrong about that. On a normal night, I monitor the emergency frequencies, run automated playlist content between midnight and 4 a.m., do basic equipment maintenance, eat whatever sad thing I brought from home, and wait for sunrise. That's the job. Sometimes a drunk driver calls into the request line thinking we're still live. Sometimes the emergency scanner picks up a fender bender or a gas leak somewhere across town, and I log it. Mostly I sit in a room that smells like old coffee and static, and I do my thing. Tonight should have been quiet. Tonight is Halloween. And I've been here since 8 p.m., watching people in costumes walk past the window on their way to whatever parties are happening on Millbrook Avenue, and I've been eating a bag of peanut butter cups that I bought from the gas station down the block, and I've been half watching a Halloween parade live stream on my phone, because someone's doing a real effort with their zombie makeup this year, and I respect the commitment. The emergency scanner has been busy in the background. That's normal for Halloween. Domestics, noise complaints, someone's car getting keyed, the usual Saturday night plus costumes chaos. I log what I need to log, and mostly tune it out the way you tune out traffic when you live near a highway. And then at 11:43 p.m., this voice comes through on a frequency I don't use. I want to be precise about that, because it matters. I wasn't monitoring that frequency. Channel 14 is technically dead. It's an old municipal frequency from like 15 years ago, back when the city still ran its own emergency coordination band. The equipment that uses it has been decommissioned. I know this because I cataloged every frequency we can receive when I first took this job, the way a mechanic learns the sounds of an engine. I know what every light on this board is supposed to do. Channel 14 is supposed to be a flat 0. But it's not flat. There's a voice on it. It's a man. Older, maybe late 50s, early 60s from the sound of it. He's not panicking, which is the first thing that strikes me as strange. He sounds tired. He sounds like someone who's been waiting to say something for a very long time, and he's finally saying it, and he just wants to finish. He says, "Attention all emergency personnel and civilians receiving this signal. This is not a drill. Reports of infected individuals have been confirmed in at least 7 residential zones across the metro area. The infection presents as extreme aggression, followed by neurological collapse and reanimation. Do not approach infected individuals. Do not attempt to provide aid. Repeat, do not approach. Evacuate on foot or by vehicle to high ground or sealed structures. Avoid population centers." This warning will repeat, and then it repeats. Verbatim, word for word, same timing, same breath pattern. I sit there for probably 30 seconds just staring at the board. Then I laugh. Because it's Halloween, right? And someone has, I don't know, rigged a transmitter, hacked an old municipal frequency, set up some elaborate prank or guerrilla radio thing, or ARG, or whatever they're calling it. And I walked right into it, because I'm sitting here eating candy corn at 11:45 on Halloween night, and now I'm impressed, and also vaguely annoyed. I noted in the log, 11:43 p.m., unauthorized broadcast detected on Channel 14. Zombie outbreak hoax? Halloween related. We'll monitor. Then I pick up another peanut butter cup. The warning plays again at 11:45. And at 11:47, it's on a 2-minute loop. Which, okay, elaborate. I'll give them that. I flip over to the emergency scanner to see if anyone else is catching this, and the scanner is busy. Busier than I'd expect for even a wild Halloween Saturday. There's a bunch of crosstalk, units responding to multiple calls at once. Someone saying something about a disturbance at Carver Park. Someone else saying the words multiple victims, and then going to a different channel. I start paying slightly more attention. Then my phone lights up. It's a text from my brother Tyler. He's 24, lives in an apartment over near the University District, and his texts to me are usually either memes or complaints about his roommates. This one says, "Bro, WTF is happening outside my building. There's like screaming, and someone just ran past my window covered in blood." And I sit up straight. Because Tyler does a lot of things ironically. He's the kind of guy who will send you a fake news headline to see if you freak out. But he doesn't text me at 11:48 on a Saturday with details. He sends memes. He doesn't do details. I type back, "What's going on? Call me." He doesn't call. I call him. It rings. Goes to voicemail. His voicemail is him saying, "You've reached Tyler's phone. He's probably playing video games and absolutely can hear this ringing," and then making a smug little noise. I've heard it maybe 500 times. Right now, it makes my stomach do something I don't want to describe. I call again. Same thing. Out the window. And the window at WKPR is this large plate glass thing that faces out onto Aldrich Street. I can see people running. Not like jogging or hurrying. Running. Some of them are in costumes still, which makes the whole thing look like the parade went sideways. But nobody's laughing. A woman in a witch hat sprints past so fast she loses one shoe on the curb and doesn't stop to pick it up. I watch her shoe sitting there on the sidewalk under the orange glow of the streetlight. The emergency scanner is getting louder. I don't mean the volume, I mean the voices are less controlled. There's someone asking dispatch for more units, and dispatch isn't answering. There's a patrol car calling out a code 4 at a location I recognize. It's the intersection 3 blocks east of Tyler's apartment building. I text Tyler again. "Text me back right now, I'm serious." Nothing. I pull up the local news on my phone. Their website takes a moment to load, and when it does, the main story is still the Halloween parade recap from earlier. But there's a breaking news banner sliding across the top that just says, "Multiple violent incidents reported across city. Police urging residents to stay indoors. Developing." I look at the banner for a while. I look at the board. Channel 14 is still cycling. Every 2 minutes. That same voice. That same message. Completely steady. I should call Geary. That's the protocol for anything weird. Call the day manager. But it's midnight, and Geary is 62 and has 3 grandkids, and he's probably asleep. And I'd feel genuinely stupid calling him to say, "Hey, there's a zombie hoax on an old municipal frequency. Also, people are running in the street." So instead, I do something that I did not expect to do on a Saturday Halloween overnight shift. I take the board off automated playlist. I pull up the live broadcast controls, and I go on air. Because here's the thing. This is a community radio station. We have a transmitter range of about 12 miles. That's not nothing. That's a lot of people within range of our signal right now, probably. And if whatever is happening outside is actually something, then those people deserve to know more than a Halloween playlist. I don't know what I'm doing. I want to be clear about that. I'm a technician. I monitor and maintain. I don't broadcast. I have a voice for radio, which is what people tell me when they're being nice. But I have never actually gone live on anything, except once, when I had to fill in for Denise during a storm alert, and I sweated through my shirt. But I pick up the mic anyway. This is WKPR, emergency information. If you're listening, and I know it's late, I know. We're getting emergency scanner traffic indicating multiple incidents across the city. Local authorities are urging people to stay indoors. If you're outside, please get inside and stay there. If you hear, I stop. What am I supposed to say? If you hear anything that sounds like an emergency broadcast on any frequency, please take it seriously. I'll stay on air as long as I can. If you can reach us, our call-in line is, and I read out the number. The line lights up immediately. I was not ready for that. 15 lines all at once. I've never seen 15 lines at once. Usually on a Saturday midnight, we get maybe 3 calls an hour, and most of them are requests for songs we don't play anymore. I put the first one through. A woman. She sounds like she's been crying, or maybe running. Her breath is ragged. Please, please, my neighbors. Something happened to my neighbor. He came to my door, and he wasn't, I don't know, he wasn't normal. He was biting. I cut to the second one. A man, calmer, which is somehow worse. I'm at St. Agatha Hospital. I'm a nurse. I need you to put out the word that the ER is overwhelmed. We are not accepting new patients. Tell people don't come here. The people coming in, we can't. He stops. There's a sound in the background I can't identify. Just tell them don't come here. I put him on hold and go to the third line. A teenage boy. Are there actually zombies? Like real zombies? Because my friend got. I go to the fourth. A woman. My husband left to get candy 3 hours ago and hasn't come back. The fifth. A man. Barely audible. I can hear them outside my door. Please don't hang up. I can hear. I stay on that one. Sir? Sir, where are you? Third floor. Apartment 312. I locked the door. I pushed the couch. Okay, good. Stay where you are. Don't open the door. They're trying to get. There's a sound. A loud one. Like a door straining against something. Then he hangs up. I sit there with my hand on the phone, and the other 14 lines blinking, and the Halloween parade music that's still cycling on the automated side of the board, even though I've taken us live, because I haven't had time to shut it off. So somewhere in the background there's this jaunty, bouncy horror movie parody song playing softly under everything, and I think, okay, something is actually happening. I try Tyler again. Still no answer. I go back on air. Will KPR staying live. If you can hear this, stay indoors. Stay on the upper floors of your building if possible. Stay away from exterior doors. If you have injuries, I don't. I'm going to be honest. I don't know where to direct you because the hospital is reporting they're overwhelmed. If you have a car, if you can get out of the city, I'm hearing Route 12 North is still, I don't know. I'm guessing. I don't have confirmation. Just stay high, stay sealed in, stay quiet if you can. I'm making up half of this. But the thing is, I know how radio works. I know how sound travels. And something in my head, maybe it's the 3 years of overnight shifts where I logged every weird broadcast and scanner incident and learned the rhythms of this city at its worst hours. Something is telling me that the voice on Channel 14 was right. That this is as bad as that voice said it was. At 12:17 a.m., the news website updates. The new headline is just, Outbreak. No more developing, just that word in red. I stand up and go to the window. Aldrich Street looks different than it did 20 minutes ago. Most of the people who were running have gone somewhere. The street is emptier now, which should be reassuring, and isn't. There are cars stopped at odd angles, one with its door still open, the interior light making a yellow glow. There are things on the sidewalk I'm not going to look at too hard. The orange jack-o'-lantern in the window of the nail salon is still flickering, battery-powered, grinning its cutout grin. There are 3 people, figures, at the far end of the block, near the intersection. They're moving strange, not running, not walking exactly, moving like they don't know where they're going, circling a little, drifting. One of them is in a vampire costume, full cape, and for a second I almost laugh again, because it's so on brand for Halloween that it feels like the world is trolling me. Then one of them makes a sound, and I can hear it through the plate glass window, and it doesn't sound like a person. I step back from the window. I try to think clearly. The station. What do I have? What's in this building? WKPR occupies the ground floor of a 2-story building. The second floor is storage. Old equipment, archived tapes, boxes of paperwork that nobody has sorted in years, and the climate control unit for the whole building. The front door is glass, but it has a drop bar, one of those heavy metal bars that you slot across the door and into the brackets on either side. We had a security review 3 years ago, after someone broke in and stole a laptop. The drop bar is in the coat closet. I know this. The back door is solid steel. It's the maintenance entrance. There's a key lock on it, and I have my keys because I'm the overnight tech, and I have all the keys because the last guy lost his piece, and it was a whole thing, and now overnight gets the full set. That door also connects to the building's utility corridor, which runs under the building and pops out through a grate in the alley on Terrace Street. I have been in that utility corridor exactly twice, both times to follow the building's maintenance guy down to check on a pipe issue. It's narrow, it's dark, it smells like pipe rust and old concrete, but it goes somewhere that isn't here. I also have the station's broadcast equipment, which includes a backup generator that kicks on when the main power goes and runs for about 72 hours on a full tank, which it is, because I topped it up last Tuesday when I noticed it was running low. I have the emergency beacon antenna, which has a range better than our normal transmitter. I have 2 offices, a broadcast booth, a kitchenette, and a bathroom. In terms of food, I have the remainder of the Halloween candy I bought, which is maybe 1.5 pounds of assorted stuff, a bag of pretzels in my desk drawer, 3 meal replacement bars I've been ignoring for 2 months, a granola bar in my jacket pocket, the vending machine in the hallway, which has chips and crackers and more candy and trail mix, and 2 sad-looking sandwiches behind glass. And I can get into the machine because the maintenance key opens the service panel on the side. So, not great, but not nothing. I try Tyler one more time. This time it doesn't even ring, goes straight to a weird tone, then nothing, like the network itself gave up. I stand there in the middle of the main room, and I let myself be scared for about 45 seconds. I let my hands shake a little. I let my stomach clench and my throat go tight, and my brain cycle through the list of worse things this could be, and confirm, yes, it is probably one of those. Then I stop, because I'm a radio technician, and what I know about signal is that it only helps if someone is transmitting, and someone has to stay at the board. I go lock the front door. The drop bar is exactly where it always is. I take it out of the coat closet, cross the lobby to the glass door, and slot it into the brackets. It seats with a solid clunk. The brackets are bolted into concrete. I test it with both hands, and it doesn't move. Back door, already locked. I go check the deadbolt anyway, and it's engaged. Good. The windows. There are 2 windows in the main broadcast room and 1 in each office. They're standard commercial windows, which means they're not particularly strong, but they're also 8 feet off the ground from the outside, because this building sits on a raised foundation. Someone would need a ladder to reach them. I don't have anything to reinforce them with, so I move a heavy equipment rack up against the one closest to the street, which doesn't actually block the glass, but makes me feel like I've done something. Then I sit back down. I go back on air. I don't know who's listening anymore. I have to assume someone is. 12 miles of signal range is a lot of people. This is WKPR, staying live all night. It's 12:31 in the morning. If you just tuned in, there are reports of violence across the city. These appear to be confirmed. Do not go outside. Do not approach anyone behaving erratically. Do not open your door to anyone you don't know. Stay on upper floors. The hospital is not accepting patients as of about an hour ago. I'll keep you updated. If you have a working phone and you want to tell me what you're seeing, our number is... I read the number out again. The lines are still lighting up. I can't handle them all. I start triaging. If someone's giving me information, what they're seeing, where they are, what's happening, I stay on the line as long as I can. If someone just wants to cry into the phone, I listen for 30 seconds and then I have to move on, which makes me feel terrible, but I can't help them from here, and someone else might be telling me something useful. The useful things I learn in the next hour. The university district is bad. Someone on the east side of campus says the streets around the student dorms are completely gone, and I don't ask her to clarify because her voice tells me I don't want to. Route 12 North is actually gridlocked, not clear. Someone stuck in it says they haven't moved in 40 minutes. I stopped telling people to take it. The neighborhoods west of downtown are quieter so far. A man in a house on Pemberton Road says his street is silent. He can't see anything from his second-floor window. And what should he do? I tell him stay exactly where he is and don't go to the first floor. The bridge at Clayfield Street has been closed, not by police, but by a group of civilians who have blockaded it with their cars. Unclear if this is a good thing or a bad thing. I note it. And someone, a woman who says she's a paramedic, stuck at a staging area that has basically dissolved, tells me that the bite transmission is real, that the people coming in with bites are changing, that the window is short, maybe an hour, maybe less, that after a certain point, the person who was bitten is not the person who was bitten anymore. I ask her name. She says, Donna Calloway. Who are you? Owen Briggs. I'm the overnight tech at WKPR. Short pause. You alone over there? Yeah? Okay. She thinks for a second. How long can you stay on air? Backup generator's got about 70 hours. Maybe more if I'm careful with power. Okay. Where are you exactly? The address? Corner of Aldrich and Route 9. She goes quiet again. Then, I'm 6 blocks from you. I have a paramedic bag. I've got some supplies from the staging area. I can get to you if the block on Morrison is clear. I look out the window at Aldrich Street. The 3 figures from before are still at the far end, and now there are more, maybe 7 or 8, and they're starting to drift toward the center of the block. There are several of them on Aldrich, I tell her. I can see them from the window. How many? 7, maybe 8? They're not close to the door, but they're closer than they were. Are they reacting to anything? I watch them for a moment. They're drifting, not moving toward anything specific. They bumped into each other twice, and neither one reacted to the other, just kind of bounced off and kept going in slightly different directions. They look like they're wandering, I say, like they don't have a destination. Okay, good. That means they don't know you're there yet. Keep it that way. Don't make noise. Is there a back entrance? Steel door on the south side. Goes to a utility corridor. Keep it locked, she says immediately. Don't go in there yet. But if things go wrong, that's your exit. I like her immediately. She sounds like someone who's already assessed 3 different scenarios and chosen the most likely one. Are you coming here? I ask. I'm going to try, she says. I'll call back when I'm closer. Keep broadcasting. If this gets loud, you're going to be the only thing people have to hold on to. She hangs up. I take a breath. I go back on air. 12 minutes later, someone else calls in. A man. He says his name is Pete Harlow. He says he's a delivery driver, and he knows the streets better than anyone, and he's been driving around for the last 2 hours, trying to find a safe spot, and he keeps getting boxed in. He's in a white panel van with the logo for Harrington's Restaurant Supply on the side. He's currently parked in a loading bay on Terrace Street, which, I pull up a map on my laptop, is 2 blocks east of the WKPR building, and it's right behind the building where the utility corridor exits. I tell him to stay where he is and give him the station's number and tell him I'll explain more in a minute. Then, at 12:58 in the morning, the emergency warning on Channel 14 changes. It's been the same message on loop for 75 minutes. I'd gotten almost used to it, this rhythm underneath everything else, this steady, tired voice cycling every 2 minutes. But at 12:58 it stops. There are 8 seconds of silence, and then the voice comes back on, and it says something different. Emergency update. Infected individuals have shown increased aggression in areas of high noise and light density. Emergency services have ceased responding in zones 4 through 9. Repeat. Emergency services have ceased. Evacuation corridors are closed. If you have not already moved to a secured location, do so now. If you are transmitting any signal, radio, broadcast, cellular repeater, consider that your location may be attracting infected movement. This station will go dark in 1 hour. I stare at the board. This station will go dark in 1 hour. That's not part of an automated safety announcement. That's someone telling me, telling whoever is listening, that the person making this broadcast is choosing to stop it in an hour, like they have somewhere to be, or something is about to get to them, or they've decided there's no point continuing. I sit with that for a moment, and then I go back to the part about signal attracting movement. I look at the board, at the broadcast equipment, at the antenna on the roof of this building that is radiating our signal in a 12-mile circle right now. Then I look out the window. There are 14 of them on Aldrich Street now, not 7, 14. And they're not drifting randomly anymore. They're generally oriented in this direction, not rushing, but pointed, the way water settles toward the lowest point. Our transmitter is running at full power. On a quiet night, you can hear the hum of it from outside. I've stood on the sidewalk and heard it, a low machine pulse. It's not loud to human ears, but it's a sound, and it's constant. And apparently that's exactly the kind of thing that catches attention. I grab the phone and call Donna back on the number she called from. She picks up on the first ring. The broadcast signal might be drawing them, I say without introducing myself. There's more of them on the street than there were 20 minutes ago, and we're the only thing making sound and light for half a block in any direction. A second of silence. How many? 14 visible from the window. Are they bunching up at your door? Not yet. They're on the street, but they're facing this way. Okay. I'm 2 blocks out. I'm with someone. She pauses. Guy named Pete. Found him on Terrace Street. That stops me. Is he driving a white panel van? Another pause. How do you? He called the station 30 minutes ago. I can hear Pete in the background saying something I can't make out, and Donna saying, "Yeah, the radio guy," and Pete saying something back that sounds like it's got some relief in it. Can you guys get to the back door on the south side? I ask. Terrace Street side? There's an alley. We're coming that way already. 3 minutes, maybe less. The street's clear on Terrace? For now. I kill the broadcast. It feels like holding my breath underwater. I dim the lights in the front room, leaving just the emergency strips on. Those low, red floor-level things that stay on constantly for fire code. The place goes dim, not dark, but dim enough that from the outside, maybe, we look less lit. I go to the back door and wait. 2 minutes and 40 seconds later, there are 3 knocks on the steel. I open it. Donna Calloway is 46, maybe 47, built like someone who has carried people on stretchers up 4 flights of stairs, which she probably has. She's in a paramedic jacket that has a tear across the right shoulder. She's got a bag that's about the size of a small suitcase, and she's carrying it like it weighs nothing, even though I can tell from the way it moves that it definitely doesn't. She looks at me once, looks at the interior of the building behind me, and steps inside. Pete Harlow comes in behind her. He's taller than I expected, late 30s, wearing a Harrington's Restaurant Supply polo shirt that has somehow stayed almost entirely clean, which I find impressive, given what appears to be the state of the world right now. He's got a soft cooler bag over one shoulder and a metal fire extinguisher in his other hand, and he looks at me with the expression of someone who has been running on adrenaline for 3 hours and is very close to the end of it. You the radio guy? He asks. Owen, I say. Yeah. He nods. He looks around the back corridor. Good? Okay. Solid-looking building. I close the door behind them. Deadbolt and chain. I put a folding chair under the handle, even though it's a steel door that opens outward, and the chair is basically useless, but it's a gesture. The 3 of us stand in the corridor for a moment. The broadcast, Donna says. You killed it? Just now. Yeah. She exhales. Good. But here's the problem. She sets her bag down, unzips the top. The warning that's been on Channel 14 all night. You know what I think that is? A prank, I say, which is what I thought 3 hours ago and now feels embarrassing. No. She pulls out a flashlight, clicks it on, keeps her voice low. I think that's a coordinated emergency alert that somebody set up and triggered when this started. The fact that it updated, that it changed its message at 12:58. That means either it's a more sophisticated automation than a simple loop, or someone is manually updating it. I hadn't thought of the second option. I'd been so focused on what the message said that I hadn't thought about the mechanics of how it worked. You have a way to talk back to that frequency, she asks. Not from the main board, I say. But the backup mobile unit. There's a portable transceiver in the equipment closet that I use for remote broadcasts. If I could get it on the right settings, theoretically yes. It wouldn't be powerful, but it would work for short range. She nods slowly. Pete has moved to the wall and is sliding down it until he's sitting on the floor with his back against the concrete. He opens the soft cooler. I took everything from the staging area I could carry, he says. Medical tent. They had emergency rations, electrolyte packs, 2 cases of water bottles, a first aid kit. I filled the cooler. He holds it open. Inside there are maybe 20 water bottles, some Mylar pouches, granola bars, a few things in foil I don't recognize. Not a lot, but it's something. I look at the cooler. I look at my bag of Halloween candy and my 3 protein bars. I think about the vending machine in the hallway. I can get more, I say. There's a vending machine, and the closet in the back room has some maintenance supplies. Not food, but useful stuff. And the equipment storage upstairs has things we might need. First thing, Donna says, is security. Tell me about this building. So I tell her. Everything I know. The utility corridor. She gets very interested in that immediately. The front glass door with the drop bar. The windows at height. The generator. The roof access via the second floor storage room. When I get to the part about the roof access, Pete sits up. Can you see the whole block from up there? Yeah, and the 2 side streets. He thinks about that. I know where my van is from here. It's in the loading bay on terrace, maybe 200 feet? I backed it in. If we had to move fast. Not tonight, Donna says. She's not being mean about it. It's just a simple statement. No, Pete agrees. Not tonight. She looks at me. You got a pen? Anything to write with? We need to make a list. I have a biro on the board and a notepad that I use to log incidents, which has about 30 pages left. I go get them and bring them back to the corridor. For the next 20 minutes, the 3 of us make lists. What we have, what we need, what our risks are. It's like a really grim inventory exercise, and the whole time the utility corridor is humming faintly with old pipes, and from somewhere above us, faintly, through the ceiling, through the building, we can hear sounds from outside that we don't talk about. Food and water, immediate. About 6 liters of water between Pete's bottles and the station's bathroom tap, which I've been running because Donna says to fill everything you can find before the water pressure drops. Food for maybe 3 or 4 days if careful. Pete's rations plus the vending machine, plus my desk drawer stash plus the Halloween candy. Not long, not nearly long enough. Medical. Donna's bag has gauze, antiseptic, 3 bags of IV saline, 2 EpiPens, assorted medications she names at speed, that I write down without completely understanding. Good stuff to have. She says we're not using it unless we absolutely have to. Tools. I have the maintenance kit from the equipment closet, which has screwdrivers, a crescent wrench, pliers, a cordless drill with 1 battery at about 60% charge. I have a box cutter and a utility knife from the supply cabinet. I have flashlights, 3, all battery powered, all with fresh batteries from last month's maintenance check. Power. Generator, 70 hours. Main board consuming maybe 800 watts at full operation. If I strip back to essential equipment only, I can probably get that number down significantly and extend the runtime. Escape, the utility corridor. Pete's van 200 feet away if we can get there. And the destination we don't have yet. The broadcast facility on 9th, Pete says. He's been quiet for a few minutes, and when he speaks, we both look at him. You know the one? Big brick building, 3-story. It's got those relay dishes on top. The city emergency broadcast system runs out of there. I've delivered to that building 4 times. Loading dock on the north side. Donna looks at him. You think it's still operational? He shrugs. The alert on channel 14 has to be coming from somewhere with more power than some guy in a basement. The range on it. You said it was hitting your station's receiver, right? That's range. Serious range. That building's got the dishes to do that. I think about the voice on channel 14. That tired man, that careful, precise man who updated his message once and said his station would go dark in an hour. And whether his hour is up yet or not, I don't know, because I haven't had the board running to check. I said the building would go dark, Not that he would. That's a specific word choice. I think about who I know with that kind of careful word choice around broadcast equipment. There's a feeling forming somewhere in the back of my chest that I can't fully name yet. Okay, I say. Let's get through tonight first. Tomorrow we plan the move. Donna agrees. Pete agrees. We set up a watch rotation. 2 hours on, 4 hours off. One person stays awake watching the front and the utility corridor. I take first watch, because I'm already used to being awake all night. I let them find spaces in the back room. Pete takes the couch that's in the producer's lounge, which is just a small room with a ratty couch and a coffee table, and he's asleep in probably 6 minutes. Donna takes one of the office chairs and closes the office door, which I respect. I sit at the board in the dim red light. I'm not broadcasting, but I've got the scanner running low, and channel 14 is open on the secondary receiver. At 2:37 a.m., the channel 14 broadcast goes silent. Not to a new message. Just silence. White noise. Dead frequency. His hour is up. I sit and listen to the white noise for a while, and I think about where that voice went, and whether the building went dark because he chose it, or because something chose it for him. I eat a peanut butter cup, the last one. The empty orange Halloween bag crinkles when I fold it up, and it sounds very loud in the quiet station. Outside on Aldrich Street, I can hear them. Not clearly, through glass and concrete, and a foot of raised foundation. But they're there, a sound that's not quite a moan, and not quite something you'd hear from a person but isn't nothing. A shuffle, and a bump against something now and then, occasional, not constant. I focus on the sounds I know. The gentle hum of the generator in its cabinet to my left, the quiet recycled air from the building's haystack, the tick of the analog clock on the wall that I've been meaning to replace for 2 years because it runs about 4 minutes fast. I open my notebook to a new page. I write at the top, Day 1, things I know for certain. Then I sit there for a while. Then I write, Tyler, if you read this, I was trying to call you all night. Stay where you are. Stay high. I leave it there. The clock on the wall says 3:41 a.m., which means it's actually 3:37, when I hear something that snaps me out of a half-doze I didn't know I'd fallen into. It's not from outside. It's from downstairs, from the utility corridor. A sound. Very quiet, like someone's foot on a grate. I am very awake suddenly. I stand up without making a sound, and I take the flashlight from my belt loop, and I move to the back corridor door. I stand there listening. 15 seconds. 30. Nothing. But I know the sounds of this building. I know the particular note that pipe expansion makes when the boiler cycles. I know the way the exterior door settles in its frame when the temperature drops. I know the sound the grate makes when the building maintenance guy steps on it on his bi-weekly check, which is a sound like a loose coin in a dryer. That's what I heard. That coin in a dryer sound. I go and wake Donna. She comes awake fast and quiet, which tells me she's been trained for it. She doesn't ask what's wrong. She looks at my face and she picks up her bag. I put my mouth near her ear. Someone in the utility corridor. She nods. She touches the utility knife on the supply table. I'd laid it there earlier, and picks it up. We stand in the back corridor, both of us, listening. 2 minutes of nothing. Then, the quiet friction of something against the inside of the duct that runs alongside the main pipe. Not random vibration, not thermal expansion, something moving with intent. I put my hand on the utility corridor door handle. It's locked from this side. The corridor handle is on the inside of the door, and the locking mechanism is a sliding bolt I threw when Donna and Pete came in. But the corridor door itself is not steel. It's a heavy wooden fire door. Better than nothing, but not steel. Donna is right behind me. She puts her hand on my shoulder once. Wait. We wait. The sound moves, shifts, goes from near the duct to somewhere toward the outer grate, the exit end, the Terrace Street end, and then it stops. 2 minutes of silence. 3. 5. Donna exhales slowly. She leans against the wall and closes her eyes for a moment, and when she opens them, she looks at me and mouths, Animal. I mouth back, animal? She nods, makes a small shape with her hands. Cat, dog, something small. I don't know how an animal got into the utility corridor at 3 in the morning, but the thing is, Donna is probably right, because whatever I heard wasn't heavy enough to be a person, and the sounds it made were irregular in the way that animal movement is irregular and human movement isn't. We stand down. I go back to the board, but I don't sleep again. By 5:40 a.m., the city outside has gotten quiet in a way that is worse than when it was loud. The scanner is down to almost nothing. Not because things are better, I don't think things are better, but because emergency services have largely stopped transmitting. The frequencies that were frantic an hour ago are hollow now. Occasional traffic, short bursts, then gone. Dawn comes at 6:15. The orange light comes through the plate glass of the front lobby slowly, the way it does in October, like it doesn't have much energy for it. The jack-o'-lantern in the nail salon window across the street is still flickering. I've been watching it for hours. It seems incredible to me that a battery-powered fake candle is still going when everything else has fallen apart. Pete comes out at 6:30 with the cooler. He sets it on the equipment table and rummages through it methodically, separating things by type without being asked to. He's done that thing where people who work with their hands find something useful to do with them when they're stressed. "You need to eat something," he says. He holds out a Mylar pouch. It's some kind of rice meal. You add water, it heats itself. It's actually not terrible. I take it. I realize I'm starving. I've been awake for, I count back, 22 hours now, and the Halloween candy wore off around 2 a.m. I eat the rice meal thing standing at the board. It tastes like salt and vague grain. It's the best thing I've had all month, probably. Donna comes out when she smells food, or the closest thing to a smell, which is steam and salt. She eats standing up too, by the window, watching Aldrich Street. 6, she says. Pete and I look at her. 6 on the street, down from 14 last night. They wandered off somewhere. Pete goes to the window beside her. I stay at the board, but I angle so I can see past them. She's right. 6 of them visible, spread across about half a block. Moving the same as last night. No direction, no goal. One of them is still in a skeleton costume from last night, white bone print on black, and it's moved so much during the night that the costume is mostly twisted around backward, white ribs on the spine, black front. 2 others are in normal street clothes. One is in pajamas, which for some reason that gets me more than the skeleton costume does. They're not dangerous if they don't know you're there, Donna says. It's not a question, but she's looking at me like she wants me to confirm it. From what I've been able to tell from the calls last night, I say, they react to noise and movement, mostly. People who got hurt seem to have attracted them by running or shouting. The ones who stayed quiet, I pause. The ones who stayed quiet mostly stayed safe. Or the ones calling in, anyway. Pete is watching the one in pajamas. They don't look, I know what they are, but they don't look that scary when they're just wandering around like that. That's the dangerous part, Donna says. He nods. Yeah. After breakfast, such as it is, we hold a proper meeting. The 3 of us at the producer's table in the lounge. Donna has taken out a notebook of her own. She had it in her paramedic bag, the kind of waterproof field notebook that emergency workers carry. The paper doesn't rip when wet. She has a map of the city in it, an actual paper map, folded into quarters. I think I love her a little for that. She spreads it on the table. The city is not huge. It's a mid-sized place, maybe 400,000 people in the metro. The kind of city big enough to have a downtown and a university and a hospital district, but small enough that everyone who's lived here for more than 2 years knows roughly how to navigate it by instinct. The kind of city where the community radio station matters, because there's really one of it. Donna has already marked several things on the map in pencil. 3 red X's at locations I don't recognize. A circle around St. Agatha Hospital. A dotted line that I think might be the route she took to get to us. The emergency broadcast facility is here, Pete says. He puts his finger on a block in the northeast part of downtown, 9th and Carver, Big brick building. I remember it, because the loading dock is on the north side, but they make you go around to sign in at the front, which is annoying when you're carrying a heavy order. Donna makes a mark on the map. That's 3/4 of a mile from here. 12, maybe 13 blocks. 3/4 of a mile in normal circumstances is a 15-minute walk. How many clear routes? I ask. She studies the map. Depends on what clear means. Morrison Street goes straight there, but it goes through the University District, and that's... She shakes her head. Based on what people were saying on the radio last night, the university area was bad early. Lots of students out for Halloween. Crowded. Lots of noise. It would have drawn attention fast. Alternate? We could go south, cut through the warehouse district, come up Carver from the south side. Adds maybe 4 or 5 blocks. But the warehouse district was quiet even before this. Not a lot of people there on a Saturday night. Pete nods. I know that route. In the van, I've done that cut a dozen times. On foot, it's different, but... He looks at the map. The fence on the south side of the warehouse lots is chain link. There's a gate that delivery drivers have a code for, but it's always kind of flimsy. We could get over it if we had to. We go at midday, Donna says. Bright light, maximum visibility. We move slow and quiet. The van? I ask. Pete makes a face. It draws attention. Noise. It's a diesel. It's not quiet. Plus the streets might be blocked. On foot we can go around things. What do we bring? And we're back to lists. It's a good organizing principle. Calming. I've always made better decisions when I'm writing things down, which is one of the reasons I log everything at the station. We agree on Donna's medical bag, which goes everywhere she goes. The portable transceiver from the equipment closet. I spend 20 minutes finding the right settings, getting it dialed to a frequency that won't be competing with anything we know is active. Pete's soft cooler with the remaining rations. We figure maybe 2 days' worth, which we agree is not ideal, but is what we have. The maintenance toolkit, stripped to the essentials. Crescent wrench, flathead, utility knife, box cutter. 2 flashlights. 1 3-cell maglite that I've had in the equipment room for 4 years, and is heavy enough to function as something other than a light source if it came to it. There's a question I've been sitting on, and I put it to them now. The voice on channel 14, I say. The warning broadcast, the one that updated last night and then went dark at 2:37. Donna looks at me. I know the voice. Silence. Or I think I do. I can't. It's been a 1.5 years since I heard it regularly. But the cadence. The way he talks around equipment, the specific vocabulary. There was a man named Jim Pauley, who was the manager of this station for 11 years. He retired 18 months ago. He knew radio. He knew emergency broadcast systems. He'd worked in emergency communications before WKPR, KPR, back when he was younger. He always talked about how the city's backup systems were underfunded, how in a real emergency people would be flying blind. Pete says, And Jim Pauley had a heart attack last spring. The news was in the station newsletter. Geary told me himself. Jim's dead. Another silence. So, either it's someone who sounds exactly like him, I say, or someone else who works in the same way he does. Or he didn't die, Donna says. She's not being dramatic about it. She says it the same way she says everything, flat and direct. That newsletter came from Geary, I say. And Geary's been gone 6 months on medical leave, and his assistant has been running the admin. I've never confirmed it with anyone who knew Jim directly. Is it possible, Donna asks, to fake something like that in a small city context? If someone wanted to disappear off-grid for 18 months, Pete says. I mean, he shrugs. You'd be surprised. I've delivered to people who lived like they didn't exist. Old farmhouses, generators, no mail service. It's not that hard if you know what you're doing. I think about Jim Pauley. I think about the way he used to make coffee with too much sugar and drink it at the board with his feet up, talking about signal theory like other people talk about baseball. I think about the first week I worked here, when he spent 3 hours one Tuesday afternoon walking me through the backup systems, the emergency protocols, the redundancies. He was thorough in the specific way that only people who've imagined the worst-case scenario get to be thorough. If he knew something was coming, I say slowly, if he'd seen something, or had access to something that told him something was building, wouldn't he have tried to warn people first? Wouldn't he have set something up? He did set something up, Donna says. You heard it all night. I look at the map. The broadcast facility at 9th and Carver. If Jim Pauley is alive, if he chose that facility as a base because of its transmitter range, if the station going dark doesn't mean he's dead, but means he moved, or went quiet for safety, or is waiting for something, we should go, I say. We should definitely go. We spend the rest of the morning getting ready. Two things happen while we're doing that. The first thing, I go upstairs to the equipment storage to look for anything useful, and while I'm up there, I go to the window that looks down onto Aldrich Street. From up here, I can see further in both directions. I can count more of them than Donna could from the ground floor. There are 31 on the 2 visible blocks, not all of them moving. Some are just standing, like they forgot they were supposed to be going somewhere. One of them, standing directly below the window, looks up. Not at me specifically, more like it heard something, or felt a vibration from the building. It looks up and its face is pale, and the mouth is open, and it has a witch hat on. The same kind the woman was wearing who ran past at midnight and lost her shoe. It might even be the same hat. She dropped it somewhere. Something picked it up. The witch hat is sitting on its head at a slight angle, because the wearer has no interest in adjusting it. I back away from the window very slowly. The second thing, at 11:15 in the morning, my phone rings. I've given up on the phone working. The network seemed totally dead after midnight, but it rings. 1 time, 2 times, and I grab it and the screen says Tyler, and I pick up so fast I knock my water bottle off the table. Tyler, Tyler, you okay? Where? Owen. His voice is weird, thick, like he's been crying or not sleeping or both. You're alive. Thank God. Where are you? Are you somewhere safe? Yeah. I'm okay. I'm in the apartment, on the 5th floor, barricaded the door with basically everything I own. Good. That's exactly right. Don't open it. I know. Owen, the street outside is... He stops. I hear him swallow. It's bad. It's really bad. I know. I saw the neighbor from 4C this morning. Out the window. He doesn't finish that either. Tyler, listen to me. You've got food? Yeah, I got stuff. Noodles and canned stuff and a bunch of snacks. I've got water. I filled the bathtub last night. Smart kid. That's my brother. Good. How much food? Realistically? He's quiet for a moment, thinking. A week? Maybe more. I don't eat a lot. Okay. That's okay. You've got time. Don't try to move. I'm going to find a way to get to you, but not right now. It's not safe to move right now. Are you hearing me? Yeah. A pause. Owen, where are you? The station. WKPR. I've been here all night. You were broadcasting, he says. I heard you. When it started, I was so relieved when I heard your voice. Something happens in my chest that I'm not prepared for. Yeah, I was on for a while. I went quiet because the signal was drawing them. Okay, his voice is a little steadier now, I think. Are you with anyone? 2 people, a paramedic and a delivery driver. Good people. Okay. Owen, don't go outside, I say. Promise me. I promise. I'm going to find you. Just stay there, stay quiet, and I will find you. I pause. Do you have a way to keep your phone charged? Yeah, I've got my portable battery. It's full. Okay. Text me every 12 hours. If you can't get the cell signal to work, don't stress. Just text, and it'll send when the network comes back up. Yeah, okay. Silence for a moment. Hey, Owen? Yeah. Is it as bad as it looks? I look at the map on the table. At the red X's, Donna has marked. At the distance between this building and Tyler's apartment building, which is on the other side of the university district, which is the bad side. We're going to figure it out, I say. That's not an answer, and we both know it. Okay, he says. Stay safe, Ty. You too. He hangs up. The connection drops immediately after, like it only stayed alive long enough for that conversation, and then gave up. I set the phone down. I go back to the preparation. We leave at 12:15, noon or just after. The sun is as high as an October sun gets, which is still pretty low given the time of year, but it's enough. Enough to see clearly, enough to have light for hours before it starts to go. The three of us in the utility corridor, single file, with the lights off above us and the mag light on, low ahead. Donna first, then me, then Pete with the cooler. The corridor is about 4 feet wide and maybe 6 feet of headroom in the center, less where the pipes run along the ceiling. It smells like old water and concrete, and something faintly animal that reminds me of what we heard last night. About 30 feet in, the mag light catches 2 small eyes. A cat. A gray tabby, skinny, sitting on a ledge where a pipe bracket has created a little shelf. It looks at us with profound indifference. Then it looks away. Donna stops. Hi, she whispers. The cat doesn't respond. Pete whispers, Is that what we heard last night? Probably, I say. The cat sits on its ledge. It seems entirely at peace with the end of the world, which I respect. We keep moving. The grate at the far end comes up at my shoulder height. I have to press it up and push it outward, and it swings open on a hinge that squeaks once and then is quiet. The alley on Terrace Street, empty. Pete's white delivery van in the loading bay, 30 feet to my right, backed in just like he said. We stand at the mouth of the alley and look in both directions. Terrace Street is clear for the 2 blocks we can see. On the far end, maybe 200 yards north, something is moving, but it's far enough that we can't tell what, and it doesn't seem to be moving toward us. Donna looks at me. I nod. She takes the lead. We move. This is the part that I will think about for a long time after. The moving part. Because in movies and things, walking through an apocalyptic city is this big dramatic moment, scored and lit and paced. In reality, it's just walking very carefully with your heart in your throat, and every sound you make feeling like a siren. The warehouse district is quieter than downtown. That's the plan's logic. The buildings are big and blocky. Logistics companies, supply warehouses, an industrial laundry service, a place that repairs restaurant equipment, no residences, no apartments. On a Saturday Halloween night, there were no people here to begin with, which means there were no people here to turn. Still, we stay quiet. We move in the shadows of the building walls where we can. We cross open spaces in maybe 3 seconds, one person at a time, pause at the corner, look both ways, signal. Once, on a cross street between 2 warehouse blocks, we see a group of them. Maybe a dozen. They're maybe 60 yards away, across the open street, drifting in a loose cluster. They haven't seen us. We press flat against the building wall. Donna puts her hand flat, palm down. Stay. We stay for a full 90 seconds, breathing through our noses. The cluster drifts south, away from us. One breaks off and heads toward a noise from somewhere I can't identify. A car alarm going off 6 or 7 blocks away. Something that's been triggered by God knows what. It starts walking toward the sound, and the others follow it. And just like that, the intersection is clear. Pete exhales so quietly it's barely a sound. We keep going. The chain link fence at the south edge of the warehouse district is exactly where Pete said it would be. The gate has a push-button code box beside it. Pete doesn't know the code. Flimsy, he said earlier, and he was right. The fence is chain link, the post is embedded in concrete, but the gate latch is just a hooked bolt. And after I get the utility knife blade into the gap and lever it a little, it opens. It screams once, and we all freeze. Then silence. Then we slip through. The south side of the broadcast district, the streets leading up to 9th and Carver, is different from the warehouse district. Older buildings, some restaurants that were definitely open until last night. There are cars here, parked crookedly, a few with their doors open. There's a smashed plate glass window in a clothing shop that looks like someone went through it from the inside. There's a stroller on the sidewalk, with no one near it, empty. I look at it once, and I don't look at it again. We work our way block by block, always listening for 30 seconds at each corner before moving. Donna is very good at this. She moves like someone who's used to assessing environments fast. Door on the left, obstacle right, clear ahead, move. I try to move the same way. Pete is a little louder than he thinks he is, but it's nothing bad. We're 4 blocks from the facility when I see the first one that notices us. It's alone, standing in a doorway on the opposite side of the street, which means maybe 35 feet of open road between it and us. It's in street clothes, jeans, a dark jacket, and it's facing sort of away from us, but it swings around when Pete's boot scrapes the pavement. We stop dead. It's looking in our direction. It makes a sound, not loud, not words, just a kind of rough exhalation, and it starts moving toward the sound. Back against the wall, Donna murmurs. Don't run. We're back against the wall. We're not running. It walks toward the center of the road. It's going to the sound, not to us specifically. It doesn't seem to be tracking us by sight, just moving toward where it heard something. It goes to the center of the road and makes that sound again, low and searching, and then it stands there, 35 feet away. Pete has the mag light, and he's got his hand over the lens, so there's just a faint orange glow from between his fingers. I can barely see Donna's face. I can hear both of them breathing. I'm aware of the cooler bag that Pete's carrying, because it has things in it that might shift and make noise. 20 seconds. 40. A minute. The figure in the road turns its head slowly from side to side, like it's listening, like a dog that's heard something at the edge of hearing and can't figure out which direction. Then, from somewhere south of us, there's a sound. Can't tell what. A crash, something falling, metal on concrete. It sounds like it's coming from 2 or 3 blocks away. The figure in the road turns toward it immediately, goes from confused standstill to purposeful walking in a second flat. It goes south. It moves into a building shadow, and then we can't see it anymore. We give it another 90 seconds. Then we move. 2 more blocks. 1 more corner. 1 more listen. And then we're standing across the street from the emergency broadcast facility at 9th and Carver. It's a 3-story brick building, older than anything around it, probably built in the 50s or 60s. It has the blocky, serious look of a building that was designed to be important and to last. There are 2 large satellite relay dishes on the roof, plus what looks like a broadcast antenna tower that reaches maybe another 20 feet above the roofline. The dishes look operational. There's a slight tremor in the antenna cable when the wind moves, the kind of movement that means there's current in the system. It's running, I say. I can feel it, almost. The particular quality of air around a transmitting antenna, I've been near enough of them to know. Pete points to the north side. Loading docks around there, north end. Front door? Donna asks. We can see the front entrance from here. It's a double door with an intercom panel. The doors look intact. There are no figures visible on this block. A couple in the street to the north, one at the far south end. None between us and the facility. Front door, Donna says. Less exposure than walking around to the loading dock. Quick across the street, straight to the door. We cross in a fast, quiet line. Donna, me, Pete. 25 feet of open road, and then we're at the door. Donna pushes the right door. Locked. She pushes the left. Also locked. There's the intercom panel. It has a single button, a small speaker grill, and a tiny camera lens mounted in the upper corner. Green LED beneath the lens. It's powered. Someone is watching this. Donna looks at me. I press the button. A long second, 2. Then a voice from the speaker. Young, female, exhausted, startled. Who's there? How many? I lean toward the speaker. 3. We're okay. We came from the community radio station on Aldrich Street. Silence. WEC PR, the voice says. Yeah. I'm the overnight technician. My name's Owen Briggs. Longer silence. Owen Briggs, the voice says. She says it like she's confirming something. like she's checking it against something she already knows. The door buzzes and opens. We go in. The lobby is dim. Emergency lighting again. The same low red strips I have at WKPR. There's a reception desk with nothing on it. A security station with an empty chair. A set of doors leading deeper into the building with an electronic keycard lock. The doors are standing open, wedged with a doorstop. Standing in the middle of the lobby is a girl who can't be more than 17. She's in jeans and a gray sweatshirt with a university logo on it, and she has dark circles under her eyes that go down to her cheekbones, and her hair is tied back in a knot that started neat maybe 2 days ago and has since been held together by sheer persistence. She's holding a walkie-talkie in one hand and a can of Sprite in the other, and she looks at the three of us with an expression I can only describe as a person who has been waiting for something and is not sure if this is what they were waiting for. "You're from WKPR," she says, to me specifically. "Yeah. Did you hear the broadcast on 14? "All night," I say, until it went dark at 2:37. Something in her shoulders drops. Relief, I think. Okay, good. So you know." "I know what I heard," I say. "I need to know who made it." She looks at me. "There was a man named Jim Pauley who managed WKPR for 11 years, I say. "He retired 18 months ago. I was told he died in the spring. The voice on Channel 14 sounds like him." She takes a breath. She is 17 or so, and she is very tired, and she is doing this thing where you hold your face carefully, so it doesn't show too much. "His name is James Pauley," she says. "He's my grandfather." Donna and Pete and I all look at each other. "He's been here for 4 days, she says. "He's sick. Not like them. He's not infected. He has something with his heart. He told me he says, it's not going to kill him, but he can't." She stops. She looks at the walkie-talkie in her hand. "He can't climb the stairs anymore. He's on the first floor. He told me what to broadcast and I've been doing it. Since Thursday. 4 days. She's been here 4 days. Alone. Broadcasting into whatever remains of the world." "What's your name?" Donna says. The girl looks at her. "Audrey." "Audrey." Donna's voice is different now. The flat emergency voice softens slightly. "I'm a paramedic. I have medical supplies. Can I see your grandfather?" Audrey Pauley nods. She leads us through the wedged open doors and into the building. Jim Pauley is in what appears to be a break room off the main corridor, lying on a cot that looks like it came from a camping supply somewhere. He's in his early 60s, with the kind of face that was probably square-jawed in a younger version, and has settled into something weathered and deliberate. He's awake when we come in. He sees me first, and something changes in his expression. Not surprise, exactly. More like recognition. "Owen Briggs," he says. His voice is the same voice I heard all night on Channel 14. Tired, deliberate, a little rough. "You stayed on air longer than I expected." I pull a chair over and sit across from him. "You were monitoring us." "I was monitoring everything. When you went live at midnight, I added your frequency to the monitor board upstairs." He nods upward, indicating the broadcast floor above us. "Audrey kept track of what you were saying." "You faked your death," I say. Not accusatory, just stating. He looks at me for a moment. "I stepped away," he says. "There's a difference. I didn't fake anything, Owen. I retired. I moved. I told some people I was going off-grid, and I didn't tell other people anything at all. The story about the heart attack." He pauses. "That wasn't my story to start. I think Gerald started that because he felt better telling people something definitive. Why did you leave?" He shifts slightly on the cot. He does look unwell, not infected unwell, but the kind of gray pallor that comes from bad sleep and not eating enough, and something grinding away at your system. Because I knew something was building. I've had contacts in the government emergency communication network since the 90s. I wasn't getting official information, nothing that formal. But I was hearing things around the edges, certain protocols being quietly updated, certain medication stockpiles being quietly replenished. Things you notice when you've been in emergency communication your whole life, And you know how bureaucracies behave when they know something is coming, but don't want to say so. Donna is in the corner of the room, taking things out of her medical bag methodically. She glances at him once, and I can tell she's assessing him from across the room. So you set all this up, I say. The broadcast, the automated warning. It took me a year. This building had been scheduled for decommissioning. The city's been moving everything to a regional digital system. These old analog relay facilities are expensive to maintain. I have a friend in the city infrastructure office. I arranged to stay on as an unofficial caretaker. Unofficial meaning unpaid and mostly unacknowledged. He almost smiles. The transmitter was still in working order. The relay dishes are newer than the building. When I triggered the broadcast on Thursday night, I was surprised how clean the signal was. Thursday night, I say. The outbreak started Saturday. Halloween. I know. I triggered it early. I was hearing reports from my contacts that things were moving faster than anyone had expected. I wanted to give people 2 days. He looks at his hands. I don't know how many people listened. Some, I say. I know at least some did. He nods. Donna comes over. She has a blood pressure cuff. She doesn't ask. She just puts it on his arm. He lets her. What's wrong with you? She asks, while it inflates. Atrial fibrillation, he says. I've had it for 2 years. I have medication for it. I had enough for a month. I've been here 4 days. She reads the cuff. She doesn't tell him the number, which probably means it isn't great. She puts the cuff away and pulls out a small medical scanner. I need to check your heart rhythm, she says. I have a portable EKG monitor. It'll take 5 minutes. Go ahead, he says. She hooks him up efficiently. The 3 strips of electrodes, the cable, the little handheld screen. I watch the line trace across it, the irregular bouncing of a heart that isn't keeping its own time properly. Audrey is standing in the doorway. She's been standing there watching her grandfather, and I realize she's been doing that. The watch, the check, the look, for 4 days. Is there medication in the building? Pete asks her. He's been quiet since we came in. He's good at quiet. She shakes her head. Grandpa checked before I got here. There's a first aid kit, aspirin, that kind of thing. Nothing for his heart. Pete looks at the map he's been holding since the warehouse district. He unfolds it on the break room table. The pharmacy on 8th, he says. 2 blocks from here. He looks at Donna. She's still watching the EKG. Digoxin, she says without looking up. Or metoprolol. Either will do something. Ideally both. She glances at Pete. The pharmacy will have both. Then we go get them, Pete says. It's said very simply. We go get them. Like it's an errand. The street situation on 8th, I start. I walked it an hour ago, Audrey says. We all look at her. Before you got here, I was going crazy in here. There were maybe 8 of them on 8th Street from the roof, spread out. They weren't clumped. Donna looks at her sharply. You went to the roof alone? Audrey meets her eyes. She doesn't flinch. I go to the roof every 2 hours to look around. It's how I know what's outside. She says it the way someone says something they've already argued about with themselves and come out the other side. I'm not going to wait inside and not know. A beat of silence. Okay, Donna says. She goes back to the EKG. Jim Pauley watches the ceiling and breathes. We spend the rest of that first afternoon and evening setting ourselves up in the facility. This building is better suited than the Wee KPR station in several ways. It's all brick exterior, no plate glass in the front rooms, the lobby glass accepted. The 2nd and 3rd floors are broadcast and equipment rooms, banks of old equipment, relay panels, monitoring boards, and the transmitter controls that Audrey has been running under Jim's instructions. There are 2 bathrooms, a kitchen area with a commercial coffee maker, and a full-sized refrigerator that stopped working when the building's main power went, but whose contents, mostly condiments, a few sad lunchboxes left from Thursday, and a case of water bottles, are still there. There's also a storage closet on the 1st floor that turns out to be exactly the kind of thing you want in a crisis. An emergency supply closet. Someone in this building's past, maybe Jim himself from his caretaker days, had stocked it with a rolling metal shelf unit. Canned goods, beans, corn, tuna, peaches, more foil emergency pouches, water purification tablets, a camp stove with 2 canisters of fuel, candles, matches, batteries in every size, a hand crank flashlight, a basic first aid kit, 2 emergency blankets, and a waterproof duffel bag that someone had pre-packed with the basic premise that the world might end someday. Donna looks at the closet with an expression I might describe as reverent. "He did this," Audrey says from behind us. "Before he came here. He brought it all in the first day." "How'd he get here?" I ask. "He drove. He had, an old Buick. It's in the loading bay. He said the roads were bad, but he'd made it before things really went bad." The Buick in the loading bay becomes important later, but not yet. On that first evening, Pete and I go to the pharmacy on 8th Street. We go because Pete knows the city, and I can read building layouts fast enough to be useful. We leave Donna with Jim and Audrey. We take the utility knife and the mag light, and we go at 3:15 in the afternoon, which gives us 2.5 hours before the light starts to go seriously. 8th Street has 9 visible from the roof, according to Audrey's last count. When Pete and I get to the corner, we can see 7. The pharmacy is mid-block on the south side. The front glass is intact, which surprises me. A lot of the other commercial glass on this block is broken. The front door has a sign in it, "Closed for Halloween." Back at 6 p.m. The irony of that sign, the sweet mundane specificity of it, is something I notice and then immediately put away. We cross. We use the same pattern we used before, one at a time, fast, to the building wall. The pharmacy's front door is locked. We go to the side, which has a delivery entrance with a plain wood door. Pete takes the box cutter and gets the latch in about 30 seconds. The wood around the strike plate is old and soft, and it gives more than it fights. Inside it's dim but not dark. The fluorescent overheads are dead, but there are transom windows above the shelves and enough afternoon light coming through them to see. We do not use the flashlight. Pete knows pharmacies from deliveries, so he knows where the back stock tends to be. We bypass the OTC aisles, though I grab a handful of things as we pass. Aspirin, ibuprofen, antacids, a bottle of vitamin C, a box of cold medication, all of which go into my pack. The pharmacy counter is in the back. The gate across it is closed. I find the release lever for the gate. It's always on the inside of the counter, there to let pharmacists out quickly during emergencies, which we absolutely qualify as, and I pull it and go through. The dispensing area behind the counter, rows of shelving with orange bottles, a computer that's dark and useless, alphabetical by drug name. I know enough from the medical log I've been keeping in my head since Donna started listing things. Digoxin, metoprolol. I go through D and M respectively. I find both within 3 minutes. Pete's been watching the back door while I search. I grab enough of each to last a month. I also grab blood pressure medication that's in a name I recognize from the scanner logs. Hypertension stuff, common, and a few other things Donna mentioned offhand. I fill a plastic carrier bag from the counter. We go back through the gate, back through the pharmacy, back to the delivery door. At the delivery door, I stop. There's one of them in the alley. It came from somewhere while we were inside. It's facing away from us, toward the end of the alley, but it's between us and the street. Pete looks at me. I shake my head, not because I have a better plan, just to say, wait, not yet. We stand inside the delivery door, holding it open 2 inches, and we wait. 30 seconds. A car alarm goes off somewhere. The same one from earlier, maybe. Or another one. The city is full of dying car alarms now, and the figure in the alley turns and walks toward it without looking back. We go. Back across 8th, back around the corner, back to the facility. 7 minutes total. Donna gives Jim the digoxin that evening and says we'll wait 48 hours to see how he responds before trying anything else. He takes the pill with a glass of water and looks at it for a moment first, the way someone looks at something they've been waiting for, without admitting they were waiting for it. "Thank you," he says. He looks at Pete, who hands him the glass. "Don't worry about it," Pete says. We eat that first night in the break room. Camp stove on the table, foil pouches and canned beans and crackers, and a can of peaches that Audrey opens and passes around, and which tastes extraordinary, in the specific way that things taste extraordinary when you've been surviving instead of eating. Jim eats sitting up, which is better than the afternoon when he couldn't quite manage it. Audrey sits beside him. She's been broadcasting for 4 days, and she's running on almost nothing, and about halfway through the meal, she just puts her head on the table, on her arm, and goes to sleep right there. Not dramatically, just gone. Jim looks at her for a long moment and then looks at the wall. She found me on Thursday morning, he says quietly. I'd told her about this place last year, not in great detail, just that if something went very wrong, there was a building downtown that had a transmitter and supplies, and that she should remember its address. She remembered. He pauses. She came on foot, alone, 40 blocks. Nobody says anything. Her parents are in Riverside District, he says. She doesn't know. He doesn't finish that sentence. None of us do. The second day. Jim is better, not much better, but measurably better, which is how medicine works when it's working. His color is slightly less gray. He sits up easier in the morning. Donna does a full assessment in the morning light and says she's cautiously not panicking, which from her is a positive statement. Audrey woke up at 5 a.m. and went straight to the broadcast room. I found her at the controls 20 minutes later, doing exactly what her grandfather had taught her. I stood in the doorway of the broadcast room and watched. It's a different kind of setup than WKPR. More serious equipment, the kind of broadcast board I've seen in trade publications and training materials but never had access to. The transmitter power is rated for a 100-mile radius at full output. There are 6 monitor screens showing signal levels, frequency readouts, battery backup status. The room smells like electronics and old coffee from a mug that's been sitting on the console long enough to leave a ring. Audrey is broadcasting on a loop, a recorded message that Jim apparently helped her prepare. It runs 12 minutes and cycles every 20. It gives a list of known safe routes out of the city, updated as of yesterday afternoon. It gives an evacuation point, a high school football stadium on the east edge of the metro, which apparently was identified as a government emergency assembly point. It gives instructions on dealing with the infected. Noise attracts them. They don't react to obstacles they can't detect. They follow sound in a more or less direct line until something else catches them. Listening to her voice on the recording, she sounds 10 years older than she looks. She sounds like someone who's been trained for this. She hasn't been. She did it anyway. I sit down at the secondary station. There's a second console, less powerful, meant for monitoring and backup, and I pull up what I can on the scanner. The city's emergency channels are almost entirely silent now. Occasionally, a military frequency passes through, brief, coded, and I note the frequencies and times, but I can't decode what they're saying. What I can hear, on a few civilian bands that people have apparently found and started using, is fragments. A voice from somewhere north of the city saying they've made it to the mountains and the roads are clear if you go far enough east. A voice from someone who sounds like they're in a car, driving, saying that the Route 12 gridlock has broken up overnight. Either cars moved or people abandoned them. A steady signal from somewhere I can't quite triangulate that's playing music. Actual music, not broadcast music. Someone playing guitar and singing, that keeps going in and out at the edge of the receiver range. That last one I keep coming back to. Wherever that signal is coming from, there's someone alive enough to play guitar. That seems like something. I'm at the secondary console for an hour when Pete comes in. He has a look on his face that I've learned means he's processed something and has decided how to present it. There's enough food for about 6 days in that closet, he says, between what Jim brought and what we got from the staging area and the pharmacy trip. And after 6 days, we need more. He sits in the spare chair. I've been looking out the loading bay since 6 this morning. The Buick's there, full tank. The block behind the building is clear. I think I can get to the grocery store on 5th in the van if we bring it around from Terrace. I look at him. You want to drive a diesel van through the city? No, he says. I want to drive Jim's Buick. It's quieter. The grocery store is 3 blocks. I make one run, load it up, come back. 40 minutes tops. Not alone, I say. No, he says. Not alone. We go to Donna. She says absolutely not to Pete going, because Pete is the one who knows the building and the equipment routes, and if something happens to him, the loss of that working knowledge is too big. She says she'll go with me. Jim, from his cot in the break room, says, "There's a list in the small notebook in the right pocket of my jacket. It's the things I'd prioritize if I had another run." His jacket is on a hook by the door. I get the notebook. Right pocket. The list inside is in small, careful handwriting, and it covers 2 pages. The top priorities: cooking oil, salt, more canned protein, sardines, tuna, chicken, dried rice and dried beans, calorie-dense, long shelf life, multivitamins, antiseptic wipes, garbage bags, large, matches, rope or paracord, a hand crank or solar radio. Solar radio, I say. For when the generator gives out, Jim says, and it will. He says it without drama. He says it the same way he says everything, like a man who has thought all of these things through so many times that stating them has become a kind of relief. We take the Buick. Donna drives, because she says she has experience driving in bad conditions, and I believe her. I navigate, because I've been looking at that city map for 15 hours, and I have it essentially memorized at this point. The back route from the loading bay to 5th Street avoids the main commercial streets and goes through an alley and a small side block. Donna drives it at walking speed with the engine as quiet as she can keep it, which is relatively quiet. The Buick is an old Grand Marquis, and old American cars run smooth when they're maintained, and Jim apparently maintained this one. 3 blocks. No contact. We park in the side lot of the grocery store, which is a medium-sized place, the kind with a pharmacy counter inside that I note immediately, but we've already been to the pharmacy. The exterior is intact. The main sliding doors have been forced open at some point and are standing half open, and there's a shopping cart lying on its side in the parking lot, but otherwise it's undisturbed. We go in. The store has a specific smell on the second day of a crisis. The produce section, immediately left of the entrance, is starting. The refrigerators are off and the things in them are already turning. The smell from the open deli case is bad enough that I breathe through my mouth. We avoid that half of the store entirely. Dry goods, cereal, pasta, rice, beans, flour, sugar, cooking oil, canned goods, tuna, sardines, chicken, corn, beans, tomatoes, fruit. We do not get fancy. We get calorie-dense. We get things that will last. I have a system that I worked out in my head on the drive over. Fill 1 cart with pure shelf-stable protein. Fill the second cart with carbohydrates and oil. Supplement with whatever makes sense. Donna is methodical. She does the canned goods while I do the dry goods. We meet in the middle with 2 carts that are heavier than comfortable. There's a cooking supply section near the back. I grab a Dutch oven, heavy, will outlast anything else in a prolonged situation. Cooking utensils, a can opener that's manual and has a proper handle, a set of heavy pot lids. There's an outdoor and sporting goods section, small, just a few shelves, the kind of token outdoors section a grocery store puts in because people might buy sunscreen and bug spray. I grab matches, multiple boxes, lighters, a handful, paracord, 2 large spools, because Jim's list said so, a manual hand pump for water if we find a tank or well, water purification tablets, in addition to what we have. Pet food section. I look at it for a moment, thinking of the cat in the utility corridor at WKPR. I grab 2 large bags of dry cat food, because if there are animals surviving in these buildings, they need to eat too. I know it's not on Jim's list. I do it anyway. Paper and household. Garbage bags, multiple large rolls. Jim was right. Toilet paper. As much as the cart can hold, this matters more than people think. Hand soap, antiseptic wipes, bleach, for water treatment and sanitation. We're in the store 22 minutes. We have 2 full carts, and we're moving toward the doors when Donna stops. She holds up a hand. I stop. She's looking at the end of an aisle, listening. From somewhere in the back of the store, the stockroom, I think, behind the doors at the far end, there's a sound. A knocking. Not the irregular, wandering sound of the infected. Rhythmic. 3 knocks, pause. 3 knocks, pause. Like a signal. Donna and I look at each other. She mouths, "Person." I nod. She holds up a finger, "Wait." We wait for a full minute. The 3-knock pattern repeats twice more. Then I go to the stockroom doors. I push one open slightly and put my face near the gap and say, quietly, "Hello?" Silence. Then a voice from inside. "How many are you? Are you sick?" A man's voice. Not old, not young. Controlled. "2," I say. "We're fine. We're not infected." How do I know that? How do I know you're not? Silence. "Fair," he says. "We're going to open the door," I say. "We're not armed." "Well, we have a utility knife. We mean you no harm." A short pause. "Okay," he says. I push the door open all the way. The stockroom is large and dim. Metal shelving along the walls. Flat pallets of goods on the floor. A hand truck leaning in the corner. An emergency exit at the far end with the bar across it. In the middle of the room, sitting on a pallet of paper towel boxes, is a man in his early 50s with a gray beard and a fishing vest that has at least 6 pockets, all of which appear to be full. He's holding a flashlight, and he's got a camping backpack beside him that's also clearly very full. He looks at us steadily. "Gordon Ashby," he says. He doesn't extend a hand, but it's not unfriendly, just careful. "Owen Briggs," I say. "This is Donna Calloway." He looks at us both. "Where are you going?" "Emergency broadcast facility," I say. "9th and Carver." He raises his eyebrows slightly. "Is it operational?" "Yes. We've been there since yesterday afternoon. We have food, some medical supplies, a working transmitter." I pause. "We have a paramedic and—" I stop myself before saying Jim Pauley's name. Not because I distrust Gordon Ashby specifically, but because I've been in this situation for less than 48 hours, and I don't know what information to give out to strangers yet. 2 others. It's a reasonable shelter. He considers this. He's been in this stockroom long enough. There's a sleeping bag on another pallet, a collection of empty cans, a bucket with a lid in the corner, that I think he's been here at least since the beginning. He came here when things started, and he's been here since. "How are the streets?" he asks. I tell him what we've seen. The cluster patterns, the sound tracking, the way they drift and then converge on noise. I tell him what Donna told me about the transmission. I tell him what the route between here and the facility looks like right now. He listens without interrupting. "I'm a licensed ham radio operator," he says when I'm done. He says it like it's a credential he's been waiting to present. "I have a portable HF rig in this pack, 40-meter band. I've been making contacts since Saturday night. There are people out there, a lot of people, some organized, some not. Military has gone quiet on most civilian-accessible frequencies, but..." He reaches into one of the fishing vest pockets and produces a small notebook, the same waterproof field kind that Donna carries. "I've been logging contacts, locations, call signs." He holds it out. "If you have a transmitter that can reach these call signs." I take the notebook. I open it. The pages are covered in careful, tight handwriting. Frequencies, times, partial locations, brief notes. There are maybe 40 entries since Saturday. "Some of these people are coordinating," he says. "Moving survivors, marking clear routes. There's a group in the northern burbs that set up a checkpoint. They've got a generator, and they're broadcasting a homing signal on 14652. If you can reach them." I look at the notebook and I think about the broadcast room on the 2nd floor of the facility at 9th and Carver and the 100-mile transmitter range. "You should come with us," I say. He looks at Donna. She looks at him. She does her assessment thing. Face, hands, posture. I've watched her do it to everyone she's met since last night, and I know it takes about 8 seconds. At the end of 8 seconds, she says, "Are you healthy? No bites? No scratches?" "Completely healthy," he says. "I've been in this stockroom since 10 p.m. Saturday. Haven't been near any of them." She nods. "You can come." Gordon Ashby picks up his camping pack. He is very efficient about it. He's been ready to go. We push the 2 carts to the Buick. We load what we can in the trunk and back seat. Gordon's pack fits in the footwell of the back seat. We leave maybe a quarter of what we loaded into the carts, which pains me, but the car can only hold so much. The drive back is clean. 4 minutes. We park in the loading bay and carry everything in. Jim Pauley looks at the groceries going past the break room doorway and something shifts in his face. "Good run," he says. "Your list helped," I tell him. He almost smiles again. He's getting better at almost smiling. When Gordon comes through the door with his notebook, Jim looks at him for a long moment. "Ham operator?" Jim says. Gordon looks at him. "You're the broadcaster." Jim nods. Gordon sits down across from him without being asked and opens his notebook on the table between them, and the 2 of them start talking in the specific shorthand of people who have spent their lives thinking about communication and are now in the only situation where it matters completely. I go upstairs to the broadcast room. Audrey is at the console. She looks up when I come in. "We got food," I say, "and someone who knows people outside the city." She takes a breath. Some of the tension in her face releases. "How's your grandfather?" I ask. "Better," she says. "He ate a real meal this morning." She pauses. "He wants to come up here. He wants to run the board himself. What do you think?" She's quiet for a moment. She looks at the console, the board she's been running for 4 days alone, the equipment she learned by her grandfather's voice through the walkie-talkie from the floor below. "I think he should," she says. "This is his thing. He built it." She pauses again. "But I also think he shouldn't push himself, and he'll absolutely push himself the second I let him near this equipment." "Yeah," I say. "So someone has to stay with him when he's up here." "I'll do it," I say. She looks at me. "I work at a radio station," I say. "Watching someone at a board is basically my job." She nods. Then she says, "He talked about you a year ago when he was still at UKPR. He said you were one of the few technicians he'd met who actually listened to what the equipment was telling you, not just what the manual said." "I don't know what to do with that," I say. "I just pay attention." "Yeah," she says. "He said that's what makes someone good at it." The 3rd day is when things start to get complicated. Gordon has been in the broadcast room since 5 that morning, working the HF radio and cross-referencing his notebook contacts with the facility's more powerful equipment. By 8 a.m., he's established a steady contact with a ham operator named Walt, who is at a church in the northern suburbs that has become a de facto staging point for maybe 60 survivors. Walt says the roads north of the city are manageable if you know which ones to take. The interstate is completely blocked, but the county roads behind it are mostly clear. He says there are National Guard units operating in the area, but communications with them are intermittent. By 9 a.m., Gordon has also made contact with someone in the military, using a frequency that I am going to choose not to document specifically, but the short version is, there are organized evacuation corridors being set up, but they're not being publicly announced, because the last time they tried that, the corridors got overwhelmed, and the gridlock and concentration of noise attracted large cluster movements of infected that turned the evacuation into a catastrophe. The new plan is small groups, coordinated via radio only, moving at specified times through specified routes. Jim Pauley, sitting in a chair at the main console with a blanket on his lap and looking considerably better than he did yesterday, listens to all of this with the quiet attention of someone who's been expecting this information and is filing it carefully. "The frequency on 146.52, he says to Gordon. "The homing signal. Can we relay it on our transmitter?" Gordon thinks, "Our power plus their signal. We'd be broadcasting their location to anyone listening on that band, including people who might not be friendly." True, Jim thinks. Alternate. We broadcast coordinates and a time window on a rotating schedule. Different frequency every 3 hours, coordinated with their group so they know when and where to listen. Gordon nods slowly. Like a navigator broadcast, pre-agreed channel rotations. It's how the emergency network used to work before everything went digital, Jim says. Before everyone decided GPS and cell towers were better. I'm sitting in the corner, watching. I'm keeping the log, the same yellow notepad from the WKPR station, which I brought in my pack without really thinking about it, and which I am now filling with the most important radio traffic I've ever listened to. What about the city itself? I ask. The people still inside. Both of them look at me. We've been broadcasting evacuation routes, I say. But from what Gordon's contacts are saying, the military's not going to come in. They're not doing a city rescue operation. If people don't know to move, and they don't know where to move to, they're going to stay in their apartments and their attics and their locked rooms until they run out of food. Jim knows this. I can see that he knows it. He's known it since he started this whole thing. The broadcast we're running reaches 100 miles, I say. We're not just talking to the city. We're talking to everything in that radius. Every receiver, every AM/FM unit, every scanner. There are people out there, a lot of people, who could hear us if we gave them something specific. Coordinates, routes, times. If we give specifics, Gordon says carefully, we commit the evacuation corridor to what we say. If it's compromised, I know. I look at the board. But there are people in this city who are going to die waiting for someone to come get them, and nobody is coming. Silence. Jim looks at the board. At the console he's been working toward for 18 months. At the thing he built because he knew this was coming, and he wanted something to exist when it did. We run the evacuation details at midnight and noon, he says. 12 hours apart. Specific routes, specific times, specific assembly point. We update it every 12 hours based on what Gordon's contacts are reporting. He looks at Gordon. Walt's group can confirm the assembly point status? Continuously, Gordon says. We've got a standing channel. Jim nods. Then we transmit. We run it on the main frequency, and we run it on 3 backup frequencies simultaneously. We make it impossible to miss if you have any kind of receiver. He looks at me. You said you have a portable transceiver from WKPR, he says. In my pack. Secondary transmitter. If we lose power here, or if the main transmitter is compromised, you take it, and you run whatever you can, from wherever you can. He pauses. Can you handle the board up here? I've been looking at it for 2 days, I say. I can handle it. Good. He settles back in his chair. Audrey's going to take a proper rest. She needs it. You and I will run this shift. So that's how it starts. Jim Pauley and Owen Briggs at the broadcast board of the emergency facility at 9th and Carver, running a coordinated evacuation communication for the city. And that's not something I planned for, or trained for, or had any business doing. But the board is boards, and signal is signal, and I'm a man who pays attention to what equipment is telling him. We run the first full information broadcast at noon. Jim writes the script in the morning. He's precise about it. Every route labeled with the correct street names. Every turn specified. Every landmark confirmed by Pete and Donna, who've been in those areas recently. The assembly point at Hilltop High School football stadium is confirmed by Walt's group, who have visual on it from a church tower 4 miles north. Jim hands me the script. You read it, he says. I look at him. You have a voice for radio, he says. I know because I hired you. I'm quiet for a moment. Also, he says, and there's something in his tone that's careful. People in this city might recognize your voice. You've been broadcasting since last night. They know you. I read the script. I read it twice more, until I know it without looking. Then I go on air at noon exactly. This is WKPR emergency broadcast, relaying on emergency broadcast facility frequency. If you can hear this, this is Owen Briggs, and I have specific information for you. Evacuation routes from the metro area are as follows, and I give them, clearly, all of them. I run it for 11 minutes. At the end I say, this information will repeat at midnight and will be updated at that time. If you are inside the city and safe, stay where you are until the route you need becomes available. If you need to move before then, listen to these instructions and move exactly as directed, slowly, quietly, with as few people as possible. The assembly point at Hilltop High School is confirmed active and receiving survivors. I pause. If you're listening to this and you're somewhere I can't imagine, In a high-rise? In a basement? In a car on a blocked street? I hear you. We hear you. We're going to keep broadcasting as long as we can. Jim cuts the signal at the end of the broadcast. He's watching the monitoring board. The signal levels drop to 0 cleanly. He's quiet for a moment. 11 minutes and 4 seconds, he says. Good pacing. I let out a breath. Thank you. You did that well. I don't know what to say. I say, it helps when the material is important. He looks at me. It always was, he says. Even the Halloween playlist at 2 a.m. Someone is listening. There's always someone listening. I think about that for a while after. What happens next comes in 2 parts, on the 3rd and 4th days, and both of them change things. The first part, Tyler. I've been texting him at the regular intervals I promised, and he's been texting back. Short, manageable texts that confirm he's alive and stationary and okay. Thursday morning his text says, getting low on water, tap stopped. I call him. The network is intermittent, but it connects. Water pressure's gone, he says. I filled the bathtub Saturday night, but I've been using it for 4 days and it's... How much left? Maybe half, maybe slightly more. Okay, that's probably 3 more days, maybe 4 if you're careful. Just drinking. How's your food? Still a week maybe. I've been careful. I look at the map. Tyler's building is in the University District, which was bad on Halloween night, is still bad as far as I know, because every call we've gotten from that area has been bad. The University District is dense with apartments and bars and late-night places, all of which filled up with costumes and activity on Halloween night, which means density, which means noise, which means concentration. Tyler, I need to know what the street looks like from your window right now. A pause. He's going to the window. It's worse than a couple days ago. There's more of them. They're kind of clustered. On the main street there's a big group, maybe 30, and then singles and small groups on the side streets. 30 in a cluster is bad. That's not wandering. That's pooling, attracted to a location by repeated sound or presence, and then staying near it. Something in the University District is generating enough recurring sound to hold them there. Is there anything making noise on that block? I ask. Regularly? Car alarm? Music? Anything? He thinks. Yeah. One of the bars, I think the one with the outdoor speakers on the corner. They must have been on an automated timer for the Halloween playlist or something. It goes off every few hours for about 20 minutes. The Halloween playlist. Right. Okay, I say. Okay. I need to think about this. Sit tight. Text me every 6 hours. I take the map to Jim. I explain the situation. The cluster on Tyler's street. The cause. The density. Jim studies the map. If the playlist shuts off, he says, the cluster may disperse. But you can't remotely shut off a bar's sound system. No. I look at the map. The University District is about 12 blocks from the facility. In normal conditions, 20 minutes on foot. With careful routing through quiet streets, maybe 40 minutes. With a cluster of 30 on the main route, I don't know. Donna, Jim says. I look at him. She'll know routes. She'll know which blocks are hospital adjacent, which ones might be clearer. She's been moving through this city for 3 days. He's right. I go to Donna. She's been setting up a proper medical area in one of the first-floor offices. 2 folding beds from somewhere. A supply tray. Proper organization of the medical kit. She listens to what I say about Tyler. Then she looks at the map. The sound source is the problem, she says. But we can't get to Tyler as long as the cluster is there. No. She runs her finger along an alternate route on the map. If we go east to Clement, south on Clement to University, then east again, we stay off the main block. If the side streets are clearer than his main street, and if there are only singles and small groups there like he says, we might be able to get up to his floor. 5th floor, I say. Stairwell. Can he get to the roof? I hadn't thought of that. I don't know. Let me ask. I text Tyler. Do you have roof access from your floor? He texts back 4 minutes later. Yeah, there's a door at the end of the hall. It might be locked. I text, "Do you know anyone else in the building? Anyone still on your floor?" 3 minutes. "Mrs. Hendrickson in 5B, but she's like 80, and she has a dog. Haven't heard her since yesterday." A dog. I text, "Go check on her." Knock quietly. "If she's okay, tell her to stay inside. If her dog is making noise, that's going to be a problem." 20 minutes pass. Then, "She's okay. Dog is small. Has been keeping it quiet," she said. "She's scared. I told her to stay put." "Good. How big's the dog?" "Like a little terrier thing. Small dog. Quiet terrier. Manageable." I text back, "On day 5 or 6, we may come to you. It depends on the cluster outside. If the music source shuts off, text me immediately." "Okay." Stay safe. You too. How are you doing, actually? The question surprises me. I've been treating our communication as pure logistics, and I forgot for a moment that he's my brother, and not a contact in a notebook. "I'm okay," I text. "I'm doing something useful, I think. I'll tell you about it when I see you." "Okay. Love you, man. Love you." I put the phone in my pocket and I stand in the corridor for a moment. Then I go back upstairs. The second thing that happens on the 3rd and 4th day is this. One of the people who finds us is already sick. It starts on the 3rd evening, just after dark. Donna and Pete are on watch at the loading bay entrance when a group of 4 people arrives at the back of the building. 3 of them look okay, scared, exhausted, the way everyone looks right now. The 4th is a man in his mid-30s named Keith, and something about him is wrong in a way that Donna clocks immediately, but that takes me a little longer to see. He's sweating in a way that doesn't match the temperature. He's holding his right arm close to his body. He's slightly off his words. Not much, just slightly. The way someone gets when they're running a fever and trying to hide it. Donna looks at the arm. She asks him to roll up his sleeve. He doesn't want to. She asks again, calmly. He rolls it up. The bite is on the inside of his right forearm. It's covered with a piece of gauze tape that he put on himself, probably yesterday. The tape is filthy. Under it, around the bite, the skin is an angry dark red, going towards something worse. He looks at her. She looks at him. "When?" she says. He hesitates. "Yesterday morning." "What time yesterday morning?" 8? Maybe 8:30. It's been almost 36 hours. The other 3 people with him, a woman named Brenda, an older man named Harold, and a teenage kid who hadn't offered a name yet, are all standing slightly back from him, which tells me they already knew. They'd been traveling with someone who was bitten and they hadn't said anything. Keith says, I feel okay. I feel like myself. There's the fever, but Keith, Donna says. Her voice is not unkind. It's the flat voice, but without any edge. "I need you to come with me to a separate room, by yourself." He knows what that means. The woman, Brenda, says, "He's still himself. He's been himself all day. He's talking. I know," Donna says. Is there something you can? "Come with me," Donna says to Keith. Just to Keith. He goes with her. I don't know exactly what they say to each other in that room. Donna is in there for 40 minutes. When she comes out, she closes the door. She stands in the corridor for a moment with her eyes on the ceiling, doing the paramedic breathing thing. 4 in, hold 4, 4 out. Then she looks at Pete and me, and she says, "He's staying in that room. He's asked to. He says he doesn't want to go outside." A pause. "I've given him something for the fever and something for the pain. It's all I can do." The other 3, Brenda, Harold, the teenager who turned out to be named Tom, we bring into the facility proper. We screen them all. No bites, no scratches. Harold has a bad knee that Donna packs in an ace bandage. Tom hasn't eaten in 2 days and sits in the break room and eats 2 cans of beans and a sleeve of crackers without looking up. Brenda keeps looking at the door of the room where Keith is. I find her at 2 in the morning sitting in the corridor outside that door. I sit down next to her. We sit there for a while. "He carried me," she says finally. "When I fell, on the 3rd block, I slipped on something, and he picked me up, and I didn't even see the thing that got to him. Until Harold. She stops. She stares at the door. He knew. He knew immediately. But he didn't say anything, because we were all scared, and he didn't want to. She doesn't finish. I'm sorry, I say. She looks at me. Are you married? No. I am, or was, I don't know. She says it simply. My husband is home on the other side of the city. I left to go grocery shopping Friday morning. I went to the store, and then it started, and I just never got back. I don't have anything useful to say to that. I don't say anything. How long does it usually take? She asks. For the fever, to... I don't know, I say. Donna would know better. Brenda looks at the door again. He's a good person, she says. He was a good person. He helped everyone he could. All day he kept helping. I know, I say. Which I don't, not really, but I know it from what I can see. She nods. We sit there a while longer. At some point Keith goes quiet in that room, and Donna checks on him at 4 a.m., and she comes back out, and she touches Brenda's shoulder once, and Brenda nods, and that's how that ends. We secure the door from the outside before dawn. There is no way to make that okay. There is no radio broadcast that helps with it. You do what you can, and you secure the door, and you carry the weight of it, and in the morning, you try to be useful anyway. The next morning, I'm at the board at 6 a.m. when Jim comes upstairs. He doesn't have the blanket. He's dressed properly. Buttoned shirt. The fishing vest that apparently belongs to the building's emergency supply cache. It was hanging in the equipment room. It's his size. He took it. He sits down at the console. I look at him. I feel significantly better, he says. The medication is working. Good. How's the signal? We spend the next hour on the board together. He shows me things about this particular transmitter setup that I didn't know. Nuances of the relay dish calibration that can extend the effective range by another 20 miles in the right weather conditions. He walks me through the frequency rotation protocol for the evacuation broadcasts. He explains the battery backup system, which can hold full power for 18 hours without the generator. The generator's at 60%, I tell him. There's fuel in the maintenance room, he says. A 50-gallon drum. I arranged it before all this. That should give us another 4 days of full operation. I note it. After that, he says. After that? He looks at me. After that, we start making choices about what we power and what we don't. The main transmitter draws the most. We could run reduced power and extend our operational window significantly, but the range drops. Or we run full power until the fuel runs out, and we accept that we have a hard cutoff. How many people are getting out? I ask, based on what Gordon's contacts are saying. He thinks. Walt's group at the church has counted at least 140 survivors coming through in the last 3 days. There are 2 other collection points that are reporting similar numbers. The military corridor to the north. They're not giving head counts, but they're moving. So, hundreds of people are using the information we're broadcasting. Yes. And if we go dark, they lose the information stream. There are other stations, he says. Gordon's contacts include 3 other ham operators who have now begun relaying our evacuation information on their own frequencies. If we go dark, those relay nodes stay up. I look at the board. How much more can we transmit before the fuel runs out? At full power, with careful operation, maybe 90 hours. 90 hours is almost 4 more days. 4 days is a long time, I say. Yes, he says, but it's not forever. I think about that. I think about the difference between transmitting and leaving. If we stay and broadcast, we extend the reach of the evacuation information. We coordinate, we update, we relay. We do the thing that Jim Pauley has been building toward for 18 months. If we leave, the Buick has a full tank, Donna has routes, Pete knows the city, Gordon has contacts on the north side. We could go. We could get Tyler and Mrs. Hendrickson and her terrier and get the hell out. You're not thinking about leaving, Jim says. He says it as an observation, not a question. I'm thinking about both things, I say. He nods. So am I. He's quiet for a moment. "There's something I need to tell you," he says. "About what I know, about how this started." I look at him. "I don't know the biology," he says. "That's not my field. But I know the communication pattern, the way information was suppressed, then partially released, then completely suppressed. I've seen that pattern before. Not with this specifically, not with this at all, but with the shape of it. The way a government agency responds when something is happening that they don't have the framework to handle yet." He pauses. "This wasn't an accident. I'm not saying it was intentional. But the people who should have been warning the public were warned. They knew. They chose, for whatever internal reasons, whatever calculus, to delay." He looks at the broadcast board. "That's what the emergency communication system is supposed to prevent," he says. "That calculus, the idea that someone at a desk can decide how much time a city has to evacuate. This," he gestures at the board, at the antenna, at everything above us and around us. "This is the thing that's supposed to exist, so that decision doesn't get made unilaterally." "And it exists," I say. "Because I built it," he says. "Because one man decided to spend 18 months of his retirement in a brick building downtown." He looks at the board. "That's not good enough. One man shouldn't be the backup plan." I understand what he's saying, and I also understand that we're sitting here, and the board is working, and the signal is going out, and right now, in this moment, one man being the backup plan is exactly enough. "It's what we have," I say. "Yes," he says. "So we use it." The 5th day. The music on the corner bar in the university district shuts off. I don't know why. Maybe the timer battery died. Maybe something shorted out in whatever automated system was running it. Tyler texts me at 6:45 in the morning. The music stopped. Has been quiet for 2 hours. I look at the map. I look at the window. It's a gray November morning. We're past Halloween now. We're into November. And the city is under overcast that makes the light flat and uniform and gives everything the same pale, washed-out quality. The leaves on the trees on Carver Street are still on the branches in some places, orange and brown, and the wind moves through them. "I need to get my brother," I tell Donna. She looks at me. "The cluster may be dispersing," I say. "If it is, the route is possible. But the window won't last forever." She chews on that for about 10 seconds. "Pete?" Pete is at the break room table, drinking coffee made on the camp stove. He looks up. "Yeah, we're going into the university district." He sets the coffee down. "How far?" he asks. 12 blocks, I say. "Maybe 13. He nods. He doesn't ask if it's a good idea, which is one of the things I've come to appreciate about Pete over 5 days. He doesn't spend time questioning decisions once he understands what the situation requires. He just figures out how to do the thing. We plan the route. Clement Street East, staying close to the buildings. The University District's south side first. A check from an elevated position to assess the cluster status on Tyler's block. If the cluster has dispersed enough, move in. Get Tyler and Mrs. Hendrickson and the dog. Come back. We tell Jim. He listens. He looks at the map. "The Buick," he says. "We might need to carry Mrs. Hendrickson," I say. "She's 80, and she may not walk 12 blocks. He nods. "Take it." Gordon, who has been running the secondary monitor since 4 a.m., says, "I'll run the noon broadcast. I've heard you do it enough times." I write out the updated broadcast script before I leave. It takes 20 minutes. When I'm done, it has the current route information, the assembly point status. Walt's group is now reporting the stadium at Hilltop is at 300 survivors, and the National Guard has set up a formal processing point there, and a specific note about the University District. If you are in the University District, the music source that was drawing infected to the main commercial street has shut off as of this morning. If you are sheltered in that area, now may be an opportunity to move. I hand the script to Gordon. He reads it. He nods. I go down to the loading bay. Pete is already at the Buick with the doors open. Donna is there with her bag. We've added a few items to the kit for this trip. The rope from the grocery run, useful for a lot of things. An extra flashlight. The first aid kit bag separate from Donna's main bag. We go at 7:30 in the morning. The Buick is quiet on the back streets. Donna drives. She goes at 10 miles an hour, which feels very slow, until you understand that at 10 miles an hour, you can stop without making much noise, and you can see what's around you properly. Clement Street is clear. Or mostly clear. There are 3 of them on Clement, spread over 4 blocks, and we drive past 2 of them without incident because we're quiet enough at that speed that they don't react to the car until we're already past. The 3rd one is in the middle of the street, and Donna doesn't stop or swerve. She slows to almost nothing and holds the steering wheel steady, and we roll past it at walking pace, and it turns its head toward the car, but we're already through and gone before it's fully oriented. University District South Side. We park the Buick on a side street, and Pete goes up a fire escape to the roof of a 2-story building. 2 minutes up, 2 minutes looking, 2 minutes down. Main Street is better, he says. I count maybe 8 in the whole visible section. Used to be 30 plus. They've scattered. He looks at me. Side streets are 3 or 4 each. There's a route through the back alley behind the east side of the block that's pretty clear. We go. The alley behind Tyler's block is one of those narrow city alleys that only exists because the buildings were built in an era where you needed alley access for deliveries. It's barely wide enough for the car, so we go on foot, Pete leading, Donna and I behind. The fire escape for Tyler's building is on the alley side. It's one of those old bolt-on iron structures that every older apartment building has, with the retractable bottom ladder that comes down when you pull it. Pete pulls it. It comes down with a clanking that makes all 3 of us freeze. Silence. Nothing comes. We go up. Pete first, then me, then Donna. 5th floor. The fire escape window at the 5th floor is locked. I knock on the glass 3 times, just like Gordon was knocking in the grocery store stockroom. Pause. 3 more. 30 seconds later, Tyler's face appears at the glass. He looks like he hasn't slept in 5 days, which is because he hasn't. His eyes are red, and there's something on his jaw that's not quite a beard yet, and he looks at me through the glass, and his expression does something that makes my throat close up. He unlocks the window and opens it. He reaches out and grabs my arm. He doesn't say anything yet. He just grabs my arm for a second, and I squeeze back. Come on, I say. We need to move. Pack what you can in 5 minutes. Food, water, anything essential. He nods. He goes. We go in through the window. Donna stays at the fire escape watching the alley. Tyler's apartment is a mess in the way that 5 days of crisis sheltering in a 1-bedroom creates. He's been organized about the important things. Food and water are stacked neatly near the kitchen. The barricade at the front door is thorough, but everything else has the kind of entropy that happens when your brain is operating at survival level constantly, and normal tidiness feels like a waste of processing power. He comes out of the bedroom with a hiking pack and starts filling it. He knows what to take. Food first. Dense stuff. His portable battery and charger cables. His important documents. Passport. Some cash, which probably isn't useful, but it's the instinct. A photograph that he takes from the windowsill and folds carefully into his front pocket. Mrs. Hendrickson, I say. Yeah. He zips the pack. Come on. We go to 5B and knock. She answers after a moment. A small, round woman in her 80s with white hair pinned back and a knitted vest and the absolute bearing of someone who is frightened but is not going to let it run her. She has the terrier, which is indeed small, a rough-haired little thing that looks at Pete and me with justified suspicion, under one arm like a clutch purse. This is Owen, Tyler tells her. He's going to take us somewhere safer. She looks at me. Is it safe out there right now? Safer than staying, I say. We have a car. She thinks about this for 3 seconds. All right, she says. My name is Patricia. The dog is Rupert. Don't let him make noise. We won't, I say. Is there anything you need to take? She has a small overnight bag already packed by her door. She must have packed it days ago, just in case. Inside it, I can see medication bottles, a wallet, a rosary, and a framed photograph that she's wrapped in a sweater. I pick up the bag. We go down the alley fire escape. Patricia Hendrickson descends a 5-story fire escape at 82 years old without complaint, though she accepts Pete's hand at the last ladder. Rupert the terrier is in Tyler's pack, which he's unzipped to create a carrier pocket, and Rupert is behaving with a remarkable professionalism. Back to the Buick. All of us in. Pete, on the outside on the drive back, watching the side streets. Donna driving. Tyler in the back seat, with Mrs. Hendrickson and Rupert, who sits in her lap and makes no sound whatsoever for the entire drive, as though the dog has understood the assignment. 12 minutes to the facility. No incidents. When we pull into the loading bay and I help Mrs. Hendrickson out, she looks at the building and says, "This seems solid." "It is," I say. "Good," she says. She looks down at Rupert. "You did well," she tells the dog. The dog puts its ears up. The 6th day is the day I have to tell Jim something he doesn't want to hear. Gordon has been running the secondary monitor around the clock, and what he's finding is that the military coordination that seemed solid on day 3 is becoming erratic. The contacts that Walt's group had with the guard units on the north route are going quiet one by one. Walt himself is reporting that the convoy moving through the northern corridor has stalled. Something about a blocked section of County Road that the guard can't clear without heavy equipment. The Hilltop Stadium is approaching maximum safe capacity, and the guard isn't adding more transportation. The window is closing. Not shut yet, but closing. I take the map to Jim. "We have maybe 48 hours, I say. Maybe less, before the northern route becomes unusable." He looks at the map. He's been looking at maps for 6 days, and they're different maps now. Not the city map, but the mental map of what the city is, what it's become. "How many people still inside?" he says. "I can't know that. I don't have a way to know." Gordon's contacts are reporting on the survivors who are moving, the ones who are staying put. I shake my head. "There are people who won't go," Jim says. He says it simply. People who can't go. People who've decided to stay regardless. Those people need something different than an evacuation broadcast. I wait. "They need a long-term information source," he says. "Ongoing. Not evacuation routes, but how to survive in place. Food sourcing, water treatment, shelter management, seasonal considerations, winter's coming, medical basics." He looks at the board. "That's a different kind of broadcast. A different kind of broadcast that requires someone to stay and run it," I say. He looks at me. "Jim," I say, "you have atrial fibrillation, and you've been pushing yourself for 6 days on emergency medication, and you are getting better, but you are not all the way better. You cannot stay here indefinitely." He's quiet. "Audrey has to go," I say. "She's 17. Her parents." I stop. Neither of us knows what Audrey's parents' situation is now. She has to have a chance to go. "I know," he says. "Everyone who can leave should leave," I say. "Tomorrow, while the route is open, Tyler, Pete, Donna, Gordon, Mrs. Hendrickson, Brenda, and Harold and Tom, you, Audrey, all of them." "And who runs the board?" he says. "I've been sitting with this for 2 days. Since the first afternoon when I told Donna we should definitely go to the facility. Since the morning I heard Jim's voice on the frequency I knew from 3 years of working at his station, and drove the connection through to what I needed to do. "I'll run it," I say. Jim looks at me. "I know this equipment now. I've been running it for 4 days with you watching. I know the frequency rotation, the power management, the backup systems. I can run a reduced power broadcast indefinitely once you're gone." I pause. "The Buick stays for now. If things get bad, I have the utility corridor at WKPR to fall back to, and the van on Terrace. I'm not cornered." "Owen, I can do this," I say. "And I need to, because if everyone goes and the board goes dark, we leave all those people with nothing. You know that." I look at him. "You spent 18 months building this, because you knew one person had to stay and do it. You were going to be that person." "I know," he says. "So it's me," I say. "I'm the overnight tech. This is the overnight shift." He's quiet for a long time. "Audrey will say she wants to stay," he says finally. "Audrey needs to go. She's done enough. He nods slowly. He looks at the board. The power management protocol, he says. There's one more thing I need to show you. We spend 3 hours going through every system in the building, every backup, every contingency, every protocol Jim has laid out. He shows me things with the patience of someone who has been preparing to teach this for a very long time. He shows me how to switch to the battery backup without losing signal, how to run the transmitter at 30% power, which drops the range to 60 miles, but extends the fuel to a theoretical 12 more days, how to recalibrate the relay dishes after a storm. There's a calibration guide laminated and hung on the wall beside the main dish control that he wrote himself. How to contact Gordon's contacts and relay through them if the main system fails. He gives me his waterproof notebook, the one with all the frequencies and protocols written in his small, precise handwriting. I take it. Then he says something I don't expect. There is one more thing, he says, something I haven't put in any notebook. I wait. There are people, somewhere in this city, or near it, who have been monitoring everything we've been broadcasting, not just listening, monitoring. Gordon noticed it on day 3, a signal that mirrors ours on a tracking frequency. He thought it was a military relay, which it might be, but the pattern isn't right for that. He pauses. Someone knows exactly where we are, and exactly what we're transmitting, and has known since we started. I sit with that. If they're military, that's good, I say. If they're military, yes. He looks at the board. But if they're not, who else has the equipment to track that precisely? In this city? He thinks. Before this happened, I can think of 2 private operators capable of it. One of them ran a security communications firm on the west side. The other, he pauses. The other is a man named Doug Hartwell who used to work in the city emergency communications office. He retired about 4 years before me. He and I didn't agree on how to run emergency protocols. He believed that emergency communications in a crisis should be centrally controlled, managed by authority, not open to the public. He pauses. We argued about it more than once. And if he's the one monitoring us, he'll want to take over the signal or shut it down, Jim says. Because that's what he always believed the right answer was. I look at the board. Okay, I say. I'll watch for it. He nods. We finish the session at 10 p.m. He goes downstairs to sleep. I run the midnight broadcast myself. The updated script, the current routes, the stadium status, a new section on in-place survival that Jim drafted in the afternoon. I run it clean. 11 minutes and 8 seconds. I sit at the board in the dark after, and I listen to the silence and the signal and the sound of the city outside. On the 7th morning, everyone who is leaving gets ready. The process of getting 11 people and 1 terrier organized for a 12-block walk to the vehicle depot that Gordon has arranged on the north side of the city is not simple. It involves a lot of lists, a lot of packing, some disagreement about how much food to leave versus how much to take, and Mrs. Hendrickson saying, with complete firmness, that she will walk and not be carried. Tyler comes to the broadcast room just before they leave. He stands in the door. "You're staying," he says. "Yeah." He looks at the board, at the equipment that he doesn't understand the way I understand it. "When?" he says. He means, when am I coming? When the broadcast can run without me, I say. When Gordon's network can carry it, and the people inside the city have what they need. How long? I don't answer that, because I don't know. He comes across the room, and he puts his hand on my shoulder for a moment, which is a Tylerism, the way he communicates things he doesn't want to say out loud. Then he says, "You sound like him, you know, on air." "Like who?" "Like someone who knows what they're doing." He pauses. "Like someone who's supposed to be there." He goes. The others say goodbye in various ways. Pete shakes my hand and holds it for a moment. Donna gives me the half of the medical kit she can spare, which is organized into a labeled bag with a guide sheet in the front pocket. Gordon gives me a secondary notebook with his contacts listed and annotated. Harold thanks me. Tom, the teenager who came with Keith's group, stops at the door and looks back and says, "This is a good thing you're doing." Then he follows the others. Brenda is the last one. She's carrying just a small pack. She looks at the broadcast room door. Does it help? She says. The broadcasting. Do you think people are actually using it? I know they are, I say. Walt's group at the church has counted nearly 250 survivors through the northern route. 2 other collection points are reporting similar numbers. Those are the people using the information we're broadcasting. She nods. She looks at the door again, then at me. Then keep doing it, she says. She goes. The loading bay door closes. I stand in the corridor for a moment. The building is very quiet. I'm alone. No, not alone. I go to the maintenance closet that I've been letting Rupert use. Mrs. Hendrickson was insistent that Rupert stay with me because he was too old to manage the outdoor walk and would slow them down, which was delivered as a logistical argument, but I suspect had more to do with her belief that I needed company. Rupert is curled on the folded emergency blanket I put in the closet corner and looks up at me with the resigned calm of an old dog who has seen a lot. You and me, I say. He puts his head back down. I go upstairs. I sit at the board. At noon I run the broadcast, the updated route information, the in-place survival section, which I've been building out since Jim drafted it. I've added detail on water treatment, on food preservation, on managing waste in a sealed space, on the importance of tracking your medical supplies. I've added a section on mental health that I wrote at 4 in the morning because I needed to say it, and because I know from 6 nights of calls that the psychological strain is as real as the physical one. I run it for 14 minutes. I sit back. The signal goes out, 100 miles in every direction, at full power, because I've decided to run full power for as long as I can, and then switch down, because the message right now is more important than the longevity. I listen to the monitoring board tell me the signal is clean and strong. From the roof, I go up at 3 in the afternoon, the same way Audrey did every 2 hours. I can see the city. The city looks different from 7 days ago. There are fewer cars moving, which means fewer living people driving. But I know from the broadcasts that the people who are moving with purpose. I can see smoke from 3 different fires in various parts of the metro. Not spreading, just burning. Things that caught and nobody put out. The infected on Carver Street are there. I count 11, but they're wandering, not congregating. The relay dishes on the roof are angled exactly the way Jim left them. The antenna above me hums. Signal in the cable. Frequency in the air. The same principle I've been working with for 3 years. The same thing I understood on day 1 when I recognized the particular quality of a live transmitter. It has a weight to it, a presence, like a sound at the edge of hearing. Someone is always listening. I go back downstairs. I'm at the secondary monitor at 5 p.m. when I catch the tracking signal. It's subtle. You'd miss it if you didn't know to look. A frequency that mirrors ours by about 40 kilohertz, running just below the threshold of the main monitoring alarm. It's been there, apparently, since the 3rd day. Gordon noted it and mentioned it to Jim, and Jim mentioned it to me. I sit and watch it for a while. Then I pick up the portable transceiver from WKPR, the one from my pack, and I calibrate it to that tracking frequency. And I broadcast on it. Hello, I say. I know you're there. This is the overnight technician at the emergency broadcast facility on 9th and Carver. I'm running this station alone now. My name is Owen Briggs. If you're listening, I'd appreciate knowing why you're tracking our signal. I release the transmit button. Silence. 30 seconds. And then a voice comes back. Not young, not old, controlled. The voice of someone who is very used to being careful about what they say. This is a coordinated monitoring operation, the voice says. We've been tracking your signal to assess its reliability and coordinate with evacuation infrastructure. Your broadcast is being relayed by at least 7 civilian operators outside the metro area. You have significant reach. I sit with that. Are you military? I ask. A pause. Attached to a military coordination unit. Civilian communications specialist. Doug Hartwell? I say. A longer pause. Jim Pauley's still talking, the voice says. Even when he's not there. He told me about you, I say. He said you believed emergency communications should be centrally controlled. I believed that, the voice says. Before. Another pause. I've been watching this broadcast for 5 days. The information you've been putting out has been accurate, current, and useful. The evacuation coordination you've been running with the ham operators, it's been more effective than anything the official structure managed in the first 48 hours. We had a head start, I say. Jim built this before it started. I know, the voice says. I know he did. The pause that follows feels different from the previous ones. Not tactical, more like something else. Is he alive? He was alive 7 hours ago when he left this city, I say. He's got a heart condition, but he's stable on medication. Good. The voice shifts. Mr. Briggs, I need to tell you something. The military coordination on the northern corridor, the one you've been broadcasting, it's being closed down tonight. I go cold. Tonight? The guard units are pulling back to a secondary position. The county road closure they couldn't clear. They're declaring it impassable. The route through the northern corridor is being abandoned as of midnight. There are still people inside this city, I say. I know. People who are trying to reach the northern corridor based on information I broadcast this morning. I know. Then what am I supposed to tell them? Silence. There's a secondary route, the voice says. It's not official. It hasn't been announced because the infrastructure at the other end isn't formally established yet. But there's a church group on the east side of the metro that has been running an informal evacuation line for 3 days. They've gotten 70 people out through the eastern drainage easement route. It's rough travel, but it's clear. He gives me coordinates. He gives me the contact frequency for the church group. I'm writing it in Jim's notebook before he finishes his second sentence. Why are you telling me this? I ask. If it's not official. Because you're the one who's going to broadcast it, he says. And because Jim Pauley was right about centrally controlled emergency communications, and I was wrong. And that's something I've been sitting with for 5 days, and this is what I can do about it from where I'm standing. I look at the board. Will you talk to me again, I say, if you have more information? Yes, the voice says. I'll be on this frequency. Okay, I say. Thank you. He doesn't respond. The frequency goes quiet. I sit at the board. Then I go on air. The evening broadcast runs 19 minutes. It is the most specific, most current, most detailed thing I've broadcast since the first night. Northern corridor closure. Confirmed. Eastern route. Coordinates. Contact frequency. What to expect from the terrain. In-place survival protocols for anyone who can't move tonight. Water treatment method using the bleach that's in most grocery stores. How to identify a building that's structurally compromised and should be avoided. The specific behavioral pattern of the infected that means they haven't detected you yet, versus the one that means they're about to converge. I say, if you are in this city and you have a radio that can receive this frequency, you are not alone. You're not forgotten. We are going to stay on air as long as we physically can, and when we can't, the signal will be carried by other operators. You will not be left without information. I run the eastern route information twice more, to make sure it lands. At the end I say, it's the end of the first week. I know it feels like longer. For most of us it feels like the last week of something rather than the first week of whatever comes next. But here's what I know from this board. People are moving. People are helping each other. Not because anyone told them to, but because that's what people do when the overhead structure clears away, and what's left is just the direct thing. Just humans and what they owe each other. I release the mic. The broadcast ends. Rupert is at the door to the broadcast room. He's come upstairs on his own, which is something I didn't know he could do. He's standing in the doorway looking at me. You heard all that? I say. He comes in and lies down under the secondary console. I sit at the board and I listen to the signal. 8th day, 9th, 10th. The days go strange when you're alone. I know this from the overnight shifts at WKPR, from the particular texture of time at 3 a.m. when the world is quiet and you're the only one keeping something running. But this is different, because the hours matter differently now. Every hour is an hour of signal, or an hour without it. Develop a routine. Midnight broadcast, noon broadcast, with monitoring and updates in between. I sleep from 3 to 7, which leaves me functional, without using too many daylight hours. I eat from the supplies. Careful, rationed, 1 main meal, and 2 small ones. I drink 2 liters of water a day. I exercise in the corridor because the body needs it, and the body knows it even when the brain doesn't want to stop working. Rupert has his own routine. He eats twice a day, from the cat food, which he accepts with a specific expression of resigned pragmatism. He sleeps near the equipment console because the humming apparently suits him. He comes to the roof with me on my observation rounds and sits at the parapet and watches the city below with the same alert, non-judgmental attention he brings to everything. The city is changing. I can see it from the roof. The infected are still there, but their movement is different from the first days. Less purposeful, if wandering directionless can be called purposeful. More of them seem to be in open spaces rather than pursuing sounds. There are fewer sounds to pursue, which means the surviving humans have learned to be quiet, which means the whole dynamic has shifted. The clusters that formed on the first nights have dispersed. Singles and pairs move through the streets without apparent pattern. There are fires on days 10 and 11 that worry me. Large ones, on the east side, in what I think is the warehouse district. Not the kind of fire that happens accidentally. The kind that happens when something catches in the right conditions and the city doesn't have fire services responding. I watch them, and I track which direction the wind is moving them, and whether they're growing, and I include fire status in my broadcasts, the specific blocks affected, the direction of movement. On day 12, I get a call on the portable transceiver. It's not Doug Hartwell. It's a woman's voice, young, who says she's relaying a message from a contact of Gordon's. The message is from Walt's group at the church. Tyler Briggs and Patricia Hendrickson arrived at the Northern Assembly Point on day 8. They are safe. A message for Owen. Tyler says to tell you he left the Halloween candy bag on the kitchen counter and not to let that speak for him as a person. I sit at the board for a while after that. Then I laugh. It comes out strange, the way laughter does when you've been alone for 5 days, like a sound you didn't know you were still capable of. He took the Halloween candy bag. He has a pound of Halloween candy in the middle of the apocalypse. That is absolutely my brother. I open the secondary notebook. On a blank page near the back, I write, Day 12. Tyler is safe. Patricia Hendrickson is safe. Rupert appears to be in good spirits. Then below that, keep going. Day 14. The fuel situation is where I calculated it would be. About 12 hours of full power operation left, which means I need to drop to 30% and start managing the reduced range protocol Jim showed me. At 30%, I have an estimated 8 more days of operation, which gets me to day 22. Gordon's network should be stable enough by then to carry the information without the main transmitter. I run the 30% reduction at the midnight broadcast on day 14. The range drops. But Gordon's contacts confirm they're picking up and relaying every broadcast segment. Walt's group, a pastor in the south suburbs who has a CB-grade radio and more neighbors than he can count. A high school kid somewhere east of the metro who has apparently been relaying our signal on a YouTube stream that he's running off a cellular hotspot, which is the most 2020s thing I've heard in 2 weeks. Apparently the stream has had 40,000 unique viewers. 40,000 people. I sit with that number for a long time. 40,000 people who heard the broadcasts from this board. Who knew which route to take and which to avoid? Who knew what the infected respond to and what they don't? Who knew how to treat water and what to eat and how to breathe when you're scared? Jim Pauley sat in this building for 4 days, sick, running a warning broadcast that a 17-year-old girl kept going because she didn't know how to give up on her grandfather's work. I don't know if that's enough. I don't know if any of it was enough. I know that some people are alive who might not be. And I know that the eastern route that Doug Hartwell told me about has been used by at least 90 more survivors, based on the church group's count. I know that the in-place survival protocols I broadcast on nights 6 through 11 have been requested for rebroadcast by 3 different relay operators, which means the people listening found them useful enough to want again. That's all I know for certain. Everything else is the space between the signal and the receiver. which has always been the space nobody can see into. Day 16. Something unexpected. There's a knock at the loading bay door at 10 in the morning. 3 knocks. Pause. 3 more. I'm not expecting anyone. I haven't been expecting anyone for 9 days. I go down carefully. I look through the small security window in the loading bay door. Standing outside, looking tired and road dusty, and considerably less neat than he was the last time I saw him, is Pete Harlow. I open the door. He comes in. He looks around the loading bay, at the Buick still in its corner, at the supply layout I've been maintaining, at the monitor I've rigged up here so I can see the loading bay camera feed from a tablet screen. "You've got this organized," he says. "What are you doing here?" I say. "You were." "I made it to Walt's group," he says. "Day 8. Then I helped run a couple of supply runs on the east side." He sets down a pack that's clearly very full. Then I thought, the person who's running the board here is going to run out of specific things eventually. Someone who knows the city should probably come back and do some runs. I look at the pack. Through the unzipped top I can see canned goods, a water filtration system, the pump kind, the good kind, batteries, a new fuel canister, medicine. I can see the labeled prescription bottles, and a very large bag of what appears to be dog food, the proper kind. Not cat food. "How'd you know there was a dog?" I say. "Mrs. Hendrickson said to give the dog real food," he says. "She was very specific about it." Rupert appears from the stairs. He looks at Pete. He puts his ears up. "Hey, buddy," Pete says. Rupert walks over and sniffs his hand. "He likes you," I say. "Animals always do," Pete says. "It's people I have trouble with." I make coffee on the camp stove. We sit in the break room, the same table where all of us sat on the first night, and we drink it. And Pete tells me about the 9 days he's been outside the city, and I tell him about the 9 days I've been inside it, and we trade information the way people do when they've both been somewhere the other one hasn't. "Gordon's network is solid," he says. "He's added 4 more relay operators. The YouTube kid has been doing translations into 3 languages. The church east of the metro is planning to run for another 2 months minimum." He pauses. "The military officially opened a new evacuation corridor yesterday. West side, goes through 3 county roads. It's been coordinated with 2 of Gordon's operators. It's working." "The broadcast," I say. "Is it still? Are people still using it here?" "Yes," he says. "I talked to someone yesterday who'd been sheltering in a hotel on the 6th floor for 12 days. She said the only thing that kept her from losing her mind was the noon broadcast. She said," he stops, thinks. "She said, someone was just there every day. Just there. I could set my watch by it." I look at the table. "She made it out," Pete adds. "She was on the east route." We sit there. After a while he says, "You should know. There are a lot of people who know your name now. Owen Briggs. A lot of people who heard you and knew there was a person at that board, not just a voice. Gordon's people have been talking about it." "I'm just the overnight technician," I say. "Yeah," he says. "You just kept the overnight shift going." He drinks his coffee. Day 20. The fuel runs out at 9 in the morning. I've planned for this. The battery backup is charged. The generator is empty. The 30% power mode has been running for 6 days. The backup gives me 16 hours. I use them to run the most comprehensive broadcast I've done, a full compilation of every protocol and route and piece of information I've accumulated over 20 days, structured for people who are hearing it for the first time, organized by situation, on the move, in place, medically compromised, small children. It runs 47 minutes. I run it twice, back to back. Then the battery drops to critical, and I shut down the main transmitter cleanly. The monitoring board goes quiet. I sit in the broadcast room. It's the middle of the morning. Gray November light through the transom windows. The relay dishes on the roof are still angled exactly as Jim left them, even though there's nothing coming through them now. Pete is in the building. He's been here for 4 days, doing supply runs and keeping the practical functions of the place operational. He's in the lower corridor doing something with the water filtration system. I pick up the portable transceiver. the one from WKPR, the one I packed in my backpack on the first night. I switch it to the frequency where Doug Hartwell's tracking signal has been. "This is Owen Briggs," I say. "Main transmitter has gone dark. Switching to relay network operation. If anyone is monitoring this frequency, you've been hearing us for 20 days, and that should tell you something about what community radio is for. We're going to keep talking. We're just going to be quieter about it." I release the transmit button. For a moment, nothing. Then, "Copy that, Mr. Briggs," Hartwell's voice. "The relay network has you. Go quiet. You've done enough." I look at the board, at the dark monitoring screens, at the calibration guide Jim laminated and hung on the wall beside the dish control. I open Jim's notebook. On the last written page, under the frequency protocols and the power management tables, there's a line I noticed 2 weeks ago and have been thinking about since. It's not part of the technical notes. It's a sentence in slightly different handwriting, neater, like he was writing it carefully. It says, "The signal reaches where the person can't." That's the whole point. I close the notebook. The broadcast room is quiet. The relay dishes on the roof catch the light. Somewhere in the city, in the church and the ham operators' homes and the YouTube stream, the signal carries on without the main transmitter. Information moving from person to person at the speed of sound, which is slower than radio, but covers more ground in the end. Rupert comes upstairs and lies down under the secondary console. I sit at the board that isn't transmitting anymore, and I listen to the frequency. Not our frequency, the tracking frequency, the one that's been monitoring us since day 3, and the line is quiet, and I take that as confirmation. They know where we are. Somebody always did. From the roof, in the late afternoon of the 20th day, I can see the city differently. Not better. Not better at all. The city is damaged in ways that don't repair easily, that will take years and more than years, but differently. There are fewer of the infected on Carver Street than there were on day 1. Not because they're gone. They're not gone. They're still out there, still moving on sound, still what they are. But the ones on this block have drifted, dispersed, moved on to somewhere the signal or the sound, or whatever it is, drew them. The block itself, on a cold gray November afternoon, is almost still. The relay dishes don't need anything from me to keep their angle. Jim set them well. I go back downstairs. Pete has made something on the camp stove that is technically a stew, if you're charitable about it, involving canned chickpeas and some dried herbs from the supply cache, and a thing that started as a potato 3 weeks ago and is now something more modest in size but still functional. It's in 2 bowls on the break room table. Rupert has his bowl on the floor. The real dog food kind. We eat. Pete says. Walt's group radioed this morning. Jim Pauley asked them to send a message. I look up. He says the heart's better. He says to check the dish calibration after any wind above 20 knots. I look at the calibration guide on the wall. The calibration guide that Jim wrote himself and laminated and hung beside the equipment he'd been maintaining for 18 months, in a building he chose because he knew it would be the right place, at the right time, for whoever was going to be here. Tell him I will, I say. Pete nods. We eat the stew. Outside, somewhere, through the walls, through the street, through the distances that radio crosses without permission, the signal is still going. Gordon's operators, Walt's church, a teenager on a cellular hotspot, a pastor with a CB unit, the frequency rotations Jim designed, passing the information from one person to the next, hand to hand, voice to voice, the same way humans have been keeping each other alive since before we had words for it. 40,000 people who heard the broadcasts. I don't know how many made it. I know some did. I know Tyler has a bag of Halloween candy at an evacuation point north of the city, which is the most absurd true thing I can think of, and which makes me smile every time I think of it. I know Rupert is eating real dog food. I know the board is dark and the signal is alive. I know Jim Pauley is not dead, was never dead, was building something in a brick building on 9th and Carver while the city went about its last normal year. I know the overnight shift ends when the work is done. It's not done yet, But I can see the end of it from here, the way you can see the end of a frequency range on the monitoring board. Not an absence, just a threshold, the edge of what this particular transmitter can reach. Beyond it, other transmitters take over. The signal doesn't stop, the receiver moves. I push back from the table. I take Jim's notebook. I go to the window that looks out onto Carver Street, the one on the second floor where I can see the relay dishes and the antenna, and the gray November sky above them. A car goes past on Carver Street. I watch it. A car, moving. Someone driving somewhere with somewhere to go. It turns at the intersection and disappears. In the broadcast room down the hall, the secondary monitor is still running on the battery backup. I've kept that going because I want the data, because I want to know what's on the frequencies, because I am a man who works nights and pays attention to what the equipment is telling him, and I don't know how to stop doing that. The secondary monitor is showing a frequency I haven't seen before, a strong signal, coming in from the north. Clear audio, just audible from where I'm standing. I go back to the secondary monitor. I put on the headphones. It's a voice, a woman's voice. Calm, organized, the specific cadence of someone who knows what they're doing. She's reading evacuation route updates. Current, precise, exactly formatted. She's reading them the way I read them. The way Jim taught me. The way Audrey ran the broadcast for 4 days alone before any of us arrived. I listen. At the end of her read, she says, "This broadcast originates from the Hilltop Assembly Point and will repeat every 4 hours. If you can hear this, and you are still inside the metro area, this information is current as of this morning. You are not forgotten." I set the headphones down. The signal from the north fills the monitoring board. Someone always picks it up.